All good?
Yes.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Centerville City Council being held here on February 18th. We had a work session before on some important issues regarding our general plan and our crossing lights at our school zones, which were good discussions. So to make sure that, we welcome all members of the public in attendance or by Zoom. We welcome staff. I thank you for their time, thankful for our city council and their time tonight, and to make sure that we can conduct business, let's do a roll call starting at the end with Councilman Meekum.
Meekum present.
Summerhays present.
Heeman present.
Hurst present.
Councilman Plummer, you there by Zoom? Did we lose him?
He's still on.
Okay, well, he's not answering, so we know we have four, possibly the fifth one by Zoom, so.
He wants us to make sure that he is on. If not, he wants to call in a different way.
I can see him, that he's on, but he's not unmuting. I'll text him.
All right, so we will proceed. Let's start with legislative prayer or thought by Councilmember Gina Hurst.
Thank you, Mayor. It is exciting to see such a large crowd at a city council meeting tonight. I love that our community is engaged and wanting to be involved in the processes that take place here. With that, as we were earlier this year and part of last year working on branding for the city, we spent quite a bit of time talking about what makes up our community. And probably my favorite thing that came out of that discussion was that we are a city that the people matter. We matter to each other. We love each other and we take care of each other. And so while I know we have a public hearing tonight that will bring up emotions and people will have very different opinions, I just wanted to have us all remember that something that was said by Russell M. Nelson. He said, how we treat each other really matters. How we speak to and about others at home, at church, at work, and online really matters. And then he also said, you have your agency to choose contention or reconciliation. I urge you to choose to be a peacemaker now and always. And with that, I'd like to offer a prayer. Our dear kind Father in heaven, we are so grateful for the opportunity that we have to gather as a community this evening and to discuss items that are on the City Council agenda. We are so grateful for the staff that we have that works hard, for the sacrifice and dedication that they give to their careers here. We're especially grateful for Public Works and for the things that they do to make sure that we have plowed roads and safe roads and good infrastructure. We're grateful for our first responders who respond to emergencies when we're in need at any time of the day. And we ask that that would bless and watch over all of these people, that they and their families will be blessed and that they may be safe and protected. We are grateful for the community that we live in. We're grateful for this beautiful city and for the people that live here. Please bless us this evening as we make decisions as a council, that we will be able to hear the things that are being said, that we'll be able to understand what people are conveying, and that we'll be able to make choices and decisions that will lead to a continuation of a beautiful community. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. If you'd all rise, pledge allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilwoman Hurst, for those comments and the prayer. So the first thing we have is an open session. Please, on this open session, do not comment on the public hearing that we're going to be having regarding zoning code text amendments for body art facility / tattoo establishment. That will come later. Please also do not comment on the public hearing for the fiscal year 2025 budget amendment, okay? Those items are going to come later. So anything right now in this open session is outside of that. Please keep your comments to no more than 2 minutes if you're so inclined on this open session. So that's available if you're commenting on besides those two topics. Please state your name, where you're from.
My name is Craig Preston. I live on Sienna Lane here in Centerville. Just wanted to report back from the prior council meeting. Since then, I've worked with Mike Eggett and sent letters to the House and Senate representatives from this community regarding HB 88, HB 90, and SB 181, the issues that were in support of what the city is proposing to do. I also wanted to let you know that I've appreciated and received a call from Chris, and we've had a good discussion, and we'll have more discussions as we go down the road, just so you know. The other thing is that in light of trying to be more open and transparent, I've sent to the mayor and to the city manager copies of the newsletter that I received when I, now living in Centerville, but received from North Salt Lake. Farmington City also sends one out on a monthly basis. So just want to suggest that. I know people who are willing to help set that up if need be to do that, and just want to offer those suggestions and let you know that we're glad to work with you and how we can do that. And thank you for your time.
And Craig, thank you so much for saying that we've been responsive. Thank you for the email you sent. I think you sent it today. I saw it in my email earlier today. So and I looked through that, and we'll discuss. We'll be discussing options as far as going back to the newsletter or online, whatever.
I'd be
But
glad to send that to the other council members if you would like it. Not easy to do, just copy these days. I'll just copy that so you have the same information.
I would like it.
thank you, Craig. All right, anybody else on the open session? Okay, if not,
I just had a quick question. Cammie Layton, 26 West 700 South. I've had other people in the north tell me that they haven't heard about the city survey. And is there time for them to fill that out, and will it make a difference if they do? If they can still send it in, and will it make a difference?
so fill out the survey. We also decided in the work session that we'll be getting a postcard mailing out to people as well too. You're talking about the general plan, right?
Yeah, the little feedback survey?
Yep. So we're still accepting them.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Till when?
3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Okay,
You know?
thank you. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Anyone else on the open session? All right, let's move on then to our presentation. We have the UTA 5-year service plan presentation. We got a couple representatives here from UTA, and I just want to inform them that all these people are here today for your presentation. So they're ready.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I really appreciate that as an introduction that I will not forget anytime soon. So this is awesome. For the record, my name is Beth Holbrook, and I'm the trustee who represents Davis, Weber, and Box Elder counties. And I'm also your neighbor to the south. I'm a Bountiful resident. I wanted to introduce today Chandler Butler. He is our new government relations manager, and he is actually going to be specifically working with cities, so elected officials, your staff, anyone else. And if you have any issues, feel free to reach out to either of us. We just want to make sure we give you plenty of coverage. So just wanted to introduce him. He's very new, so don't make him answer questions just yet.
And I will tell you
A week.
that Beth is very responsive, and Chandler Butler is very responsive too. I worked with him when he was with Senator Romney's office, so thank you.
Thank you. We're really excited to have him on board. With that, would you like me to just say turn the page? Is that? Sure. Okay, perfect. So with that, let's talk about some of the service that we do anticipate doing in the next 5 years. And this is 2025, as you can see, through 2029. So we do a 5-year service plan, and the first 2 years are pretty baked in, and then the next years, they sometimes can allow tweaks and everything else. But this is just an overview of every county and the bus routes accordingly. And you should have this in your packet. If not, I'll make sure that you can have copies. I did include some copies for you to peruse as well. Next slide. So what we are going to be talking about right now for April 2025 is a modification for the 470. And it should not really impact Centerville at this point. It's really going to focus on the Layton area, so you can see that address is like the Antelope Drive area, the DTC campus in Kaysville, as well as the Layton Hills Mall. And that is just to kind of get more connectivity, and it allows for us to integrate some other service routes as well. You can see the 628 and the 640 are going to kind of integrate and overlay a little bit. And I apologize, the map is really small, but all of these are actually interconnected, and some of them have an increase in frequency. So right now, the 470 is still going to be the same frequency, which is 30 minutes, but we hope to build these service plans to increase that frequency as well, and we're going to talk about that in another couple of years, but for this time, this is the major change. Next slide. Now this is, you can see I skipped 27. 27 is not going to have any service changes for Centerville that are going to impact it at all, because we're going to be building up for something else, and you have that in your packet. So 2028, we're going to have our 417, and you know what, this is not on 2020. We are also having the 417 start. I don't know if that didn't come through, but in 2025, we do actually have the start of the 417, which is the Redwood Road service, and that's going to go from 5th South all the way into Salt Lake City 1980 North Temple, which is one of our track stops. So you can go to the Green Line from the 417, and that's going to be a brand new route. And I apologize if that's not in here. I will make sure you guys get that as well. That is, this is different because this is an expansion, but the 417 brand new service, and we want to make sure we're connecting more to the west side. So as you can see, we're trying to continue to build on what we are doing. Our ridership is increasing. We increased about 15.5% between 23 and 24. So we're continuing to do some of our expansions. So now, fast forward to 2028. You can see the teal colored line. That is the 417 that's outlined. And that's going to expand, go up into Lakeview Hospital, 5th South in Bountiful, and Legacy Crossing in Centerville, which will be helpful for anybody who's wanting to catch a movie. And then one of the reasons for this change is to continue that greater local connectivity pieces. So right now we have on-demand here in Centerville and all of South Davis County. And the on-demand service is kind of that connector piece. So it's basically, just for the record, it's just kind of like Uber in the sense that you use an app, but it is UTA branded and it's UTA cost structure. So it's just $2.50 to catch anywhere within our geo-fenced area of South Davis County. So that's Centerville, Bountiful, Woods Cross, North Salt Lake, and West Bountiful. And what this is going to do is, again, increase that connectivity because we're going to be doing, next slide, another route that's going to be on the east side, which is the 400. And this is going to, as you can see, it's going to go from our Woods Cross Station to the Capitol, to Victory Road, Orchard Drive, 5th South, and it's going to replace segments of the 455 and the 200. And again, this is going to be part of our larger expansion that's going to include our Davis-Salt Lake connector. So with that, next slide. And then we don't really have a name. We usually have a name for our bus routes. So right now we're just calling it the 470X. So this is going to become the Davis-Salt Lake connector, and it will have a way cooler, shorter name, so just so you know. And the 470X is going to go from Farmington all along Main Street, and you can see it's again, they use the teal one to just kind of have it stand out, all the way through Farmington, Centerville, Bountiful, North Salt Lake, all the way to the University of Utah Research Park. And it will go on 3rd West in Salt Lake City, to 2nd South, which is the express bus route that Salt Lake City has invested $15 million into. And that has dedicated bus lanes, both east and west, getting to Research Park. And of course, stops all along the way. And all of these stops will be branded as the Davis-Salt Lake Connector, such a long name. And it will be indicative of how the connection works. It looks like that beeped at me and it threw me. Okay. It's going to also have an increased frequency of it's going to be every 15 minutes. So, and that service is going to be really early in the morning and all the way to about 9 or 10 p.m. on the weekdays, and then slightly less hours on the weekends. Again, this is designed to maximize connectivity on this. Next slide. And I'll hurry because I know you guys have a big agenda. So the 455 is going to discontinue south of Farmington. It will still exist in Farmington Station. Farmington is actually going to be kind of like a multimodal hub. So it will go north still to Weber State. But what will happen is all of these other connectivity bus routes will take the place of the 455 and the 470 so that we can increase the connectivity down here with on-demand will be part of that, the Davis-Salt Lake Connector, the 400, and the 417. Next slide. Okay, again, this is going to talk about the routes that we're discontinuing south of Farmington Station. Again, the reason is the Davis-Salt Lake Connector. Next slide. So this is actually a little more definition of what the Davis-Salt Lake Community Connector is. And it basically highlights the route. It talks about every single stop. And I'm sorry that's really difficult for everyone to read, but if you go online, this will be on there. It will be under the Davis-Salt Lake Community Connector, and you can see what the route is going to be proposed as. So this route is actually, we were asked to put this as an accelerated request for a project, for a capital project, in part by the Davis County Commissioners. They wanted to see us increase this connectivity piece. And so we have already submitted an initial proposal on the federal side. And what we are doing now is finalizing our local match. And just think of it roughly as like it's 60% federally funded and 40% local match. We received $18 million from TTIF, which is a transportation investment fund. And then Salt Lake County, Davis County, Salt Lake City has done an in-kind. So all of those have come together to invest in that local match piece and UTA as well. So with that, we anticipate, once we get all of that aligned, we will be then submitting that by August of this year. We anticipate also that it will be quite a successful application due to the high ridership that it currently enjoys, and what we anticipate to be additional ridership as a result of this. Next slide. And this is just a quick snapshot of some of the infrastructure investments that we look at when we look at where we are building and where we're expanding. So what we have done already is obviously our existing infrastructure. What we do is we do two things. We spend on our existing infrastructure, we keep everything maintained, and of course we repair as necessary. The next thing we also do is we invest on expansion and additional equipment. Next slide. I think that's almost it. Perfect. There's my contact information if you have any questions, and I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have. I tried to go fast. I'm sorry, it's a lot of data. And we like to have our wonky acronyms, so you're welcome.
Beth, can
Yes.
you tell us, what is the current ridership on some of the bus routes going through Centerville?
Yeah. I do not have the actual per stop access points.
That's okay.
But the
Just
bus
generally?
route in general, so the 455, which is the more eastern route, for those of you, so it's on Orchard.
Yeah.
That one is about 2,500 riders a day from start to finish. And that one right now goes from Weber State all the way, again, Highway 89, just think Highway 89 for 455, and to the University of Utah Research Park, again, up 2nd South. The 470X, or the Davis-Salt Lake Connector, is going to be very similar to that. And then the 470 is it also originates in the Ogden, our front runner station, and it goes all the way through all of the cities up there, so you can, Riverdale, Layton, Clearfield, all of those cities. And then as it goes south, it stays on what we would call Main Street. It does veer a little bit onto Highway 89 just because there's not a main street that goes all the way through. And that one has about 3,000 riders a day. And like I said, we are seeing increases in our ridership as a result of not just frequency, we think is a huge piece, but also because as we are looking to further expand, traffic is more challenging. So we do see an increase in ridership as a result. Does that help you?
Yeah, it does. Part of the reason I was asking that is just because you mentioned there's going to be 4 every 15 minutes with the 470X or the connector, the Davis-Salt Lake County connector. And I just wondered how many buses now are going through with 470 and 455? Is it about the same, or is it more or less?
It will be more.
Okay.
And thank you, that's a good question. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I can find out. Chandler and I will make sure we send you
Okay.
back that information.
Thank you.
However, the Davis-Salt Lake Connector is going to have 18 dedicated electric buses, and those are going to be 40 feet in length. And they are going to have express chargers and overnight chargers. And so both of those combined are going to hit that entire route from Farmington to Research Park.
Okay.
So it will be 18 just on that frequency alone. And so that means 18 plus operators, because they have to have brakes, et cetera, and then mechanics as well. So that's typically how we look at it.
Okay, and that one starts at Station Park?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And again, that's 2028. We anticipate that this will be roughly along the timelines that I outlined. However, there's obviously a federal component to this, and so that does somewhat impact potentially. And that's why in the first 2 years right now, everything we have is pretty much baked in for our expansion. So those are the types of things that sometimes can be impacted, but we don't anticipate that it will be a significant delay. There is we have a really strong application.
I'd like to thank you for, and I can't think the name of it, but the vans that are running.
Oh, on demand.
Yes.
Yes.
It is, I can't tell you how many people I know, especially older people, are using it and loving it, and your drivers seem to be great and courteous. I'm out on the corner a lot, and so I see the vans go by. I've just been so impressed with it, and I know so many people that it's truly changed their lives and given them a better quality of life towards the end of their life, because they can't drive anymore. They're using that to get back to the doctors. They're using it to go to the grocery stores. And once they do it a few times, they're not afraid. I've actually helped a few people go for their first little trip, because I'm finding that it's really making a difference. So I just want you to know it's making a difference, and thank you from our community, because they're really using it. And we even actually have a few kids that are late for school that sometimes come to school in it, so that's great.
That is exactly what we want to hear, and we are so excited because we do think it's that local connection piece. Like you said, people that are trying to get to doctor's appointments, or Walmart is a hugely popular area for our on-demand, and that's just that connectivity that keeps people in their neighborhoods.
It is. It's wonderful. I'm so amazed that a company as large as you has scaled down to that point and really, really helped our community. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Along those same lines, I agree, that's an awesome component. Initially, it was set up to maybe connect from the transit, the buses, the front runner or whatever, and then connect to like those doctor's offices or whatever. Do you see it being used that way?
We do. We see it all encompassing. Like I said, though, Walmart is number one. But we found that even in Salt Lake County, when we first did this as a pilot, Walmart was number one, and then our transit stops were in that same number. And it floats around, right? Because
Yeah.
there's needs and everything else. But we do still see Woods Cross. Again, it's geo-fenced for only the 5 South Davis cities, so Farmington cannot use it.
Yes.
But everyone south can. And so Woods Cross is in that. Any stop in the 470 or the 455 in any of the cities can also access it, so. But,
Great program.
yeah, and it has been, I think, some of the things that adds value to it, because we see this, and you're certainly welcome to avail yourself of this, but we have trainers that go out and they'll train people at senior centers or other areas that maybe don't have 100% excitement about technology, but this is actually quite user-friendly, so, thank you.
That's awesome. I'm sure you have data that, do you see a correlation in increased ridership on the bus? Does that help get people where they need to go so that they do get on the bus? And
It does, and we all know this more than anything. I live east of Orchard, and so I have a huge hill to get up and
Right.
down, and I would not walk it in the past. And my daughter, I made her walk it because she was my guinea pig, and she was like so not happy. And so when we added On Demand, I made her take the 455, just FYI. And when we did On Demand, it changed it for her too, because she goes to Weber State. And now she can just do that and connect to the bus stop that's down by our house.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Beth, I want to thank you and Chandler, although you're driving the bus. But for 3 weeks in September, I broke my foot. I had a 3-house walk up the Main Street. I had a cross the street walk in 4 South at Salt Lake. It was marvelous and wonderful. I had to load all my mayor meetings on one morning, and because I couldn't drive with the left foot very well. I wish I'd continued it, but now legislature's going. I'm up there a couple times a week and running out to Farmington and other places, you know. And so sometimes I'm running back and forth between Salt Lake and Centerville. But it sure was a lifesaver during that time. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to go to my CPA firm. So it was right there, boom.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate hearing that. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
any other questions, you guys just feel free to reach out, and I'm happy, we're both happy to help you in any way. So, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's go, let's come back to item number 1 for the public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 budget amendment. And let's do first on our business item, the public hearing relating to the zoning code text amendment for body art facility and tattoo establishment. And while Mike Elgett, our community development director, comes up here, a little background, he'll give you more, but the city council considered this previously on November 6th. We took a lot of public comment at that point in time, and in our public hearing, the council requested that the staff go back and look at some alternatives for a text amendment. So what we have come to now is, and Mike will describe it, is a text amendment in relation to this from what happened, what's it been, 3 months ago now. So Mike, you obviously add any more to that, but this is Mike Elgett, our community development director.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a great intro and covers actually a lot I was going to talk about, so that will make this a little quicker. We, at the last meeting in November 6th, like you said, we were asked to meet with the applicant and then work on code amendments and alternatives. And some of the code amendments we even talked about were relative to the very term tattoo establishment and its application in other zones. So it started to broach some other larger issues that are related to the city, but we'll get into that in just a minute. But we did meet with the applicant and we did put together proposed code. One thing I noted I think is a good sense to think about as we do discuss this and go into the public hearing and think about ideas is these proposed code amendment suggestions and alterations may be considered in full as presented in the packet or piecemeal depending on the decisions of the council relative to the proposed zoning text amendment request. And the reason I point that out is because there's a lot of elements, and I'll go through each one. There's about 4 or 5 key elements that are represented in your amendment documentation in your packet. But before I go there, just to quickly look at the historical context of this, it did go before the Planning Commission back on October 23rd. The voting record from the Planning Commission at the time was a recommendation for denial of a 4-0 vote, and their reasoning is found in your packet on page 3 of your summary. There are also suggested motions at the bottom of your report relative to that, so I just wanted to highlight that. Going to the document that actually has the code amendment ideas, I'm going to go through and explain the reasoning for each of those, and I think then you can see how you can look at each of the elements uniquely or as a whole. The first one is we were looking at changes to the definition, and when I say we, Lisa and I were working on this language. A body art facility lines up better with the current terminology that the state and the county use. And so actually the definition found in the packet for body art facility matches up with Davis County's definition of body art facility. So that's why we included that, is it's a definitional match to what the county and even further by extension the state. Now you'll see that we did exclude 3 items that the state does allow for, but again, the county only allows for the 2 elements that are found within the definition of the code you have before you. The next one is a definition of fine line tattoos and cosmetics. There was a lot of discussion at our last meeting in November about what does this definition even mean, and trying to identify that. So as we talked about it and interpreted it, we put together a definition that we felt comfortable with, which represents that. And you'll note the last line does say traditional tattooing and similar body art is not considered a fine line tattoo cosmetic application. So we went so far as to make that very clear. If you look at the next section was the permanent cosmetics, there are just some typographical issues that we felt like, well, if we're going to open this up, we might as well do some cleanup, generally speaking. So that is represented there. And then as you look at personal care service, again, with that new definition of fine line tattoos, cosmetics, we've included that in there under personal care service, and then we've taken out where it says the term excludes tattoo establishment to body art facility. And then the following paragraph you'll see is the tattoo establishment fully removed from the code, again, tied back to that body art facility definition. The next one is the table of uses for commercial uses. And I can go into the spreadsheet in just a second, but obviously the spreadsheet itself would need to be altered to better fit the terminology that is being represented herein. And then there is a bigger discussion about what zoning would even this term body art facility be potentially applicable to or best fitting for if we were to consider moving forward with that term. And the final one, the body art facilities, there's a regulation, that's a regulation, I guess, regulatory paragraph that identifies how the city and what links the city to the state and the county and their regulations of these types of services within the city were we to move forward with that. And so that was under Lisa's guidance. We felt like that was appropriate to make that link so that we knew who would help us to do the regulation of that, so we don't have to over-regulate or hyper-regulate where the county is doing that work and the state is further doing that work. So going to then the table of uses document, you'll see that we've highlighted in yellow and then the text is in red identifying it. The first one was body art facility, because going back to our conversation back in November, we had a discussion about not knowing which zoning would be a most appropriate zoning for body art facility were we to do so. And so I think if I remember correctly from our meeting, the discussion was commercial very high seemed to be something that the council's like, yeah, that seems like if it were to be anywhere, that would be a conducive fit. But then I identified the other areas that could be questionably applied for if it made sense to do so. And again, that might be per, I don't know, hearing the public and then discussion with the council, how you would want to proceed with that. But again, if you'll note, the CM doesn't identify it because body art facility is not the same as a fine line tattoo cosmetic as shown in the packet. Moving down, you'll then see personal care source. We highlight it because again, that is being suggested for potential amendment of that term fine line tattoo cosmetic. And then the last one is the tattoo establishment. It's been explicitly stricken from the code, no longer linked to that reference. So that's, I guess, the long and short of it. The only other thing I will say, during our last discussion on November 6th, we talked about the legality of having not permitted for any tattoo establishment or, again, conversely, body art facility within the city being a potential violation of I guess you'd say rights or rights to expression, and that there are some courts throughout the country, even in the western states, that are showing to have upheld that position. So that is the reasoning that we have shown in our code one way or another. There is some strong belief that it is in the city's best interest to consider having some kind of a body art facility representation within the city code, and that is why it's included in there. So I guess that is the long and short of the summation on that, but I'm open to any questions, or clearly I can sit down if you'd like to move forward with the public hearing and then come back up at a later time.
Mike, I noticed that planning commission voted unanimously to deny this. Was there discussion at all about amending the text, or amendments at all, or did they just, came forth?
Their reasoning is that the previous form that the applicant had provided at the time, they felt like it was too overly broad in effect and it would have been hard for the city to administer. So what you have before you did not go to the planning commission. What you have in the packet is a reflection of a continuation of the discussion from the 6th. So that's what's provided in the packet. But the planning commission prior felt like the applicant had not addressed her request in a way that the city could administer it.
Okay. Other questions for Mike right now?
Mayor, I just wanted to add something as well.
Okay, you bet.
I noticed some errors in the ordinance that was attached. Obviously, what we just went through earlier in the packet, these are the proposed amendments. So I just attached a revised ordinance with some updated dates and the definitions.
The footer and
the right
the council
people.
members?
So I apologize for
Okay,
that.
I was gonna say.
So the revised version is in there. If you notice some other, just take a look at that. But, so that should be the revised ordinance if you are inclined to approve. And yeah, as Mr. Eggett mentioned, there are some circuits, the 9th and the 11th Circuit Courts of Appeals that have held that a total ban on tattoo establishments is a violation of First Amendment rights because tattoos and even the art of tattooing or the process of tattooing is, they deemed it expressive speech protected by the First Amendment. But I did not find similar cases in the 10th Circuit, which is the federal circuit court that applies to Utah. So, and there are a number of cities in the state that ban tattoo establishments. But we are moving on to the more modern term of body art facilities as the state and the county regulate.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Mike, on the permanent cosmetics definition, it seems as though they are only from essentially neck up. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the actual permanent cosmetic definition itself, yes.
Okay. For the council's benefit, if we're thinking about a change in the definition of the permanent cosmetics, I may have some modifications there.
Yeah, and I think the county and the state have broader definitions.
Okay.
With regard to the new proposed definition of body art facility, and I'm sorry, I printed this when it came out, so if you've uploaded a new version, I have the old version in what I have in front of me. But it's defined to say this term excludes permanent cosmetics and fine line tattoos, cosmetics, and ear piercing, and then it says body art facility shall not include any of the following activities which are expressly prohibited. Don't we want that to include branding, scarification, and any, I mean, am I misreading
Yes, so
that?
that's been
You
corrected.
fixed that, okay. Sorry. All right, can I ask a question, Lisa? So, and Mike, Lisa, you guys can correct me. This is a very different proposal than the last one that we looked at. And it appears to me what staff has attempted to do is to say, we're looking at creating essentially two different types of tattoo categories. There is body art facility, which I think most people would view as traditional tattooing. And then we have this subset of fine line tattooing and cosmetics. And we're looking at making a distinction between those two things. And staff is only proposing well, it looks like staff is proposing that we look at body art facility in commercial and very high commercial areas only, right? And we're looking at potentially other places where we might allow fine line tattooing cosmetics, that much smaller subset. Am I on the same page?
Yes.
And that the permanent cosmetics definition falls under the professional services category, correct?
Yes, and that's still there.
Yeah.
So just adding another fine line tattooing for commercial medium, and then body art facilities excluding scarification and branding in other commercial areas. I think as staff reviewed the motion from the council at the last time the council reviewed this was, to tighten it up and create these two different, potentially, maybe the fine line tattooing and body art facilities. And as prepared, this sort of gives you a pick and choose. So you can say, we don't want to do fine line, but we want to do body art, or we want to do fine line but not body art. And so you'll just have to review the motions depending on what you feel is the policy determination.
But the intent behind doing this was, as I understood it, the applicant was saying, look, I don't want to do traditional tattooing. All I am looking to do is to do fine line tattooing with the same equipment, the same ink, the same needles that I'm already allowed to permanently make up people's faces. I just want to be able to do these fine lines. What staff has attempted to do is to create a very small category of a very specific type of tattoo art that we could look at authorizing that and only that, but not the larger traditional tattoos. Am I?
Yes, that's correct. And I think the applicant's original proposed text language was broader than what was discussed in some of the meetings. So, which was another reason the Planning Commission recommended denial, because it was very broad, a very broad definition, and all commercial zones of the city.
So I very much appreciate staff's efforts to give us more tools to be able to analyze the applicant's request. I'm wondering, Lisa, are you aware of any cities that have attempted to distinguish or create categories based on the types of tattoos that are applied?
A number of cities have gone to the permanent cosmetics, and they may have a broader definition of that, which would include something like this. But I didn't do an exhaustive search, so no, I didn't find a distinction on this. However, there are some distinctions in, the tools that are used, and probably the likelihood of the number of people doing this, and probably being combined with some other type of business. So there were some distinctions that staff felt were appropriate for creating a new definition.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay, if not, let's, this says public hearing matter, so first, before we go to public hearing, the applicant, do you have anything that you want to present? State your name, where you're from.
Nicole Hutchins, Centerville. I'm Nicole Hutchins. I've lived in Centerville since 1993. To Lisa's point about the broad, I think you hit the nail on the head for me. Like, this is the first time I've come before a city council, and so to not have the exact verbiage, I was kind of shooting in the dark. To your question about having like a subset opposed to like the traditional tattooing with the heavy ink and things like that. It was never me wanting to start my own tattoo business. It was just, or a huge establishment. It was just me wanting to, like you said, just this small, and I didn't know how to ask for that, I guess. So maybe it wouldn't have gone on this long if I had known how to ask. Again, I'm Nicole Hutchins. I lived here since 1993. I have 5 children. I'm standing before you today not just as a professional in the beauty and aesthetics industry, but as someone dedicated to precision, safety, and the highest standards of care in my craft. I am here once again to ask you to consider amending the Centerville zoning ordinance for a proposed new addition and/or edits which would allow fine line tattooing under professional or personal services which are performed in a salon setting. This is a logical and necessary step that aligns with similar practices already permitted within our city. I did bring some show and tell. Mike and Lisa, maybe it was Mike to show Lisa, but of what kind of machine I'm using and needles, because that was some of the questions that I had before. So if you guys would like to look at those, I can bring them up if you guys want to pass them around, if you're interested. Anybody? No?
Others don't need it.
Okay. Currently, I'm authorized to use a handheld tattoo machine, needles, and tattoo pigment to tattoo permanent makeup procedures such as eyebrows, lips, and eyeliner. These services require the same level of training, hygiene, and technical skills as fine line tattooing. The certification from the health department is the same. The machine does not change. The needles do not change. The safety protocols do not change. The only difference is where the art is placed on the body. Fine line tattooing is not body art in the traditional sense. It is an extension of what I already do, creating precise, delicate designs that enhance my client's features and confidence. By restricting fine line tattooing while allowing permanent makeup, we are drawing an arbitrary line that has no basis in safety, technique, or equipment. If I am already trusted to use the same tools and follow the same health regulations to tattoo eyebrows, lips, and eyeliner, why should a small, meaningful design elsewhere on the body be treated any differently? I know there's a lot of residents in this room right now who are opposed to tattooing, fine line tattooing, even in a salon setting. And I'm not sure if these people were aware that I'm already using tattoo equipment at New Trends. I'm sure there's people that drive by every day not knowing that I'm already tattooing eyeliner, eyebrows, and lips. How many people drive by on a daily basis and it ruins their day, or they lose sleep over the fact that I'm already using a tattoo gun, tattoo needles, and tattoo pigment every single day in city limits? Did any of these residents in here know that? Some choose to not call it tattooing, some want to call it machine work, some want to call it fine line work, microblading, whatever they choose to call it, but I am still using a tattoo machine, tattoo pigment, and tattoo needles every single day in that salon. And it's been brought to anybody's attention that they were uncomfortable with me doing that, and the reason is because it is acceptable for people in this city to tattoo on their makeup, but for some reason it is unacceptable and looked down upon for me to tattoo a small design, an initial, or a birth flower. It has been brought up in previous meetings. Some have concerns about the local school children walking by the salon. There is no signage on the salon stating I use a tattoo machine inside. Are these same people concerned about the local school children walking by the salon, worried or concerned about the children that come with their mothers, their sisters, or their aunts to get their makeup tattooed on? There has never been a concern about those children until these people don't like where the tattoo is being placed, and then they have an issue. It has been proposed in previous meetings that the salon moves due to people not wanting me to be able to tattoo on Main Street, which I am already doing, just makeup. You cannot fault a business that has been established and has been in this city for 40 years for wanting to grow and offer new services to its clientele. With the rise of cost and everything and property taxes constantly going up, it only makes sense for a business to want to grow to keep up with changing times and the demand. It has also been proposed to allow for tattoos to move specifically to the industrial zone area or like over the freeway or in the high commercial zone by Target or Walmart. So for the people in here that don't want me on Main Street, I'm already established in a salon and tattooing with no signage and, well, I'll skip that part. If we move over by Target or Walmart or over the freeway, where kids are going to dance, karate, the movies, or the batting cages, which will draw more attention for the school children? A sign that says tattoos or a salon that has no signage? And also let me say, you want me to be able to tell my brow client, I can tattoo your face, but to be able to tattoo your child's birth flower on your arm, I'm going to have to ask you to let me pack up my things and have you meet me at my other salon, either down by Walmart or over the freeway, so we can put the flower on your arm, because the residents or the city will only allow me to tattoo on Main Street if it's on your face. But if it's anywhere else, I have to move you over the freeway to my other space and to tattoo your other body parts. It wasn't too long ago that we had a business next to Papa Murphy's called Skinny Utah with actual signage on the building. We still have a business in that same location called Bare Body Wax with a sign in the window that says full body waxing available. What do the residents think about those businesses? The salon does not have any signage advertising any tattooing, and we have no plan to. Where the empty gas station now sits, there was an actual now in prison pedophile working there up until the gas station closed down. No one was concerned about young children walking down Main Street then. I have 5 children, 2 younger children, and 3 successful adult children. I've worked in the Daviess County School District for 3 years, which is one of those years being while I was tattooing on Main Street. This is not about lowering our standards, it's about consistency and fairness. Many cities across this county and the state have already updated their codes to reflect the understanding, recognizing that fine line tattooing is a legitimate professional service that deserves the same regulatory framework as permanent makeup. I ask you to consider the logic, fairness, and economic benefit of this change. Thank you.
Question, Nicole.
Yeah.
What you're doing presently is in violation of what, of our city ordinance right now?
No.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to know if you said you're already doing it, so.
Well, I'm tattooing, meaning, and that's why I said in my thing is, people don't want to call it tattooing, they want to call it the application of permanent makeup or microblading, but I'm using I'm using tattoo needles and tattoo pigment. So people don't want to know that I'm already tattooing on Main Street. It is above the neck, but I'm already tattooing in Centerville. So whether they want to call it that or not, but it's not, I mean.
So in submitting your application and some financial consideration with it, where do you want to take it from what you're presently doing to what more that you could do?
I just want to be able to provide my clients with the fine line tattoos that they want, and I don't know if we still have pictures of those from like.
No,
Oh,
we saw it before, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I just,
There's a
obviously, you
different-
want them to take a step from what you're presently doing to something else.
no, because there's a different, to take that step to the next level, to do like the traditional, really dark, thick ink and things like that, that takes years of apprenticeship. That's a completely different road of schooling that I don't have, and that's not something that I'm interested in. I mean, I think if I do anything in the future, it would be medical tattooing, but that's areolas and scars and things like that. That has, I mean, that's not the big, like, traditional tattooing that when people think of tattoos, that's what that is.
Maybe I'm a little slower in council. I'm trying to figure out, if you're already tattooing and using tattooing equipment, where do you want to go from where you are right now?
Can I clarify, Mayor?
Yeah, sure.
The city has proposed two different types of definitions for
Sure.
tattooing. They're defining, the city is proposing that we have a body art facility, and they're up here on the screen,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
A body art facility, which is more traditional big tattoos. The city is also proposing a much smaller subset.
Right.
Which is fine line tattooing
I
and
want to stay in that
cosmetic.
subset.
So, yeah, I think, so my question was gonna be, you are not asking the city to authorize body art facility on Main Street.
No.
You are only asking the city to authorize the more narrow definition that the city has created for fine line tattooing and
Correct.
cosmetics. Okay,
Correct.
thanks. Was that your?
That helps, but you're doing some tattooing right now, so what type of tattooing are you doing right now?
Makeup,
The
Okay.
permanent cosmetic.
Neck up.
eyebrows,
Okay.
eyeliner, and lips.
All right, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Nicole, I've got a question for you. So in the definition that this staff has drafted right now, I don't see, and I don't know if you're comfortable with this or not, you'd said it right now about performing these in a salon setting. Are you comfortable with that language if we were to add that?
Because I really do just want to stay at New Trends,
Right, yeah,
which is a salon setting.
which falls under the personal care services.
Right.
Okay, okay.
Do you have any concerns with the definition that staff is proposing with regard to fine line tattoos and cosmetics?
I do, but I can bring that up later.
Yeah, no, but I want to hear
Yeah, exactly.
if she has any
Yeah.
concerns, since she's the one that's asking.
No? No?
Any other questions for Nicole? Thanks, Nicole. All right, so where we're at on this is we're at the public hearing stage. Now, remember on November 6th, we had quite a lengthy public hearing. And those of you that may have been here previously, you're always welcome to comment. We're government's by the people, but if you're going to get up and say the same thing, we have it on record still, okay? And remember, what we're trying to do here, we're considering amending the Centerville zoning ordinance for proposed new additions and edits to the definition section of the Centerville zoning code, amending language in sections of the table of uses for commercial uses and potentially adding a section regarding the regulation of body art facilities. So it's a text amendment. We're looking to see, as part of that, maybe where tattooing is allowed. So while you're welcome to get up on religious or moral or whatever other issues, one way or the other, discuss tattoos, we are specifically talking about a text amendment, and we had 2 or 3 hours on that before. But you're welcome to bring that up, but it's regarding a text amendment. As far as how it's been described to you, as far as the various types of tattooing, okay? So with that said, did I miss anything? Okay, with that said, we now have a public hearing on the zoning code text amendment for the body art facility and tattoo establishment, and that public hearing is now open. What we require of you is, if you're inclined to comment, is state your name and where you're from, okay? And please try and be considerate of others that may want to speak and consolidate your comments into 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you. So that's now open.
My name is Blaine Ross Kelly. I live in Centerville. And first off, I want to thank Sister Hurst for the comments and the prayer that she gave. I thoroughly enjoy living in a community that has not only agency, but liberty. So we can do the things that we lawfully can do. Now, by changing the zoning code, however, I have outrageously considered opening up a body building salon. Body is B-A-W-D-Y. I made it simple so it would cover the fact that it's actually a porn shop. But it wouldn't change anything else that's been happening. When you take a broom and lay it on the counter, one end is agency, and you lift it up, you affect the other end that is consequence, which was not meant. And when you change the agency, you also change the consequences. And those things can be extremely dangerous, particularly in a small community like Centerville. And so I would like to see the zoning change the way it is right now, so that zoning cannot change to include other businesses that are going to cause great concern in the community.
Thank you, Blaine, for your comments. Thank you for addressing the issue. And thank you for your first part. I echo what Councilwoman Hurst said at the first. We're hoping that as you leave this meeting, that we don't have any repeat of what happened on November 6th, because that's not appropriate at all of potential threatening in the parking lot. We do not want that type of thing to happen.
Cami Layton, 26 West, 700 South. I wasn't there at that other meeting. This is the first one I've gone to on this, but let me just read what I have to say. Please don't change the zoning on Main Street. It doesn't make sense to do this while you're in the process of rewriting the general plan. This isn't the time to start changing uses on Main Street. The Planning Commission was correct to deny this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Cami.
Todd Light, Bountiful, Utah. I was here last time, and I feel like there's some confusion. So I just want to clarify the difference between fine line tattoos and regular tattoos. None of these tattoos that I have are fine line tattoos. That's not something that Nicole could do. So I can assure you, by making this amendment, the people that are already going to New Trends are going to be the same people that have been going there for years getting their hair cut. People like me won't be going there, nor will I be getting a haircut from there. So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd.
Hi, my name is Jenny Shepard. I live in Centerville on London Road. I'll keep it short and sweet. I asked a friend of mine to come who wanted to come and support this agenda, and she couldn't be here. And she had something very simple to say, and it was kind of along those lines, which made me want to stand up. She said that while the other people at the meeting are from Centerville also, what is really important to remember is that the people coming to New Trend Salon for these services are also Centerville residents, just like they are. They're here for these services. They're not flying in from Chicago or Las Vegas. They're Centerville residents who just want a simple service that's already being provided. It's not seedy, it's not sketchy, and while this other gentleman may want to open that pawn shop, that's not what we're talking about. So if he wants to bring that to attention another time, that he can do that some other time. Thank you.
My name is Brinley Lopez from Tooele. I had just had a quick comment that there was a good point that Nicole made that the service is already being done. It's obviously not on the entire body, but it is already being conducted. So people that are having a difficult time accepting the tattoos being moved to other parts of the body, it's already being done. So I don't understand why anybody should have a say about why, like, it can't be moved down to your arm or down to your leg. It's already being done, so that's not changing. If people have a problem with the tattoos, like, I mean, it's already being done, just in different areas, so why can't we decide as these people getting tattoos where we put it on our own bodies?
Thanks, Brenda.
Hi, my name's Cole Stewart Johnson. I'm in Pioneer Garden area here in Centerville. I just wanted to stand here in support of this amendment because I think it should be changed now to reflect the priorities of the city as we go into this new general planning. Because if we change it now, then it's already there and then we can bring it forward. I think that fine line, body art, tattooing, whatever you want to call it, cosmetic tattooing. I think that that is something that is beneficial, and I think if we continue to categorize it with the same as like body art, which is highly stigmatized in our society, then we continue to stigmatize people prioritizing themselves. And I think that we need to differentiate this completely, and I agree with the new definitions that have been added and believe that it should be able to be practiced here on Main Street.
Thanks, Cole.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Christensen. I live on Bonita. I've lived here since 2018, and I am for the fine line tattoo cosmetics being amended to be on Main Street. Main Street is a business district. I agree with the gentleman who just spoke. It's a very simple thing. It's not making any changes that aren't already there. It's just wordage and allowing someone who's already in an established place that everyone knows where New Trends is. People who go there are going to continue to go there. If they're not adding big signage saying tattooing, I don't see that it's any problem. So I am for this. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Dean Williams, Centerville. I don't have any tattoos. There have been 25 times in my life when I was going to get tattoos, and that was after summer camp with the Scouts, where I was going to put Phobos on this arm and Deimos on this arm, which those are the sons of the war god, the Greek war god Ares, and one stands for fear and the other one's terror. I was going to use those at Scout camp, but I didn't. But I've thought about this one quite a lot. Most of you know I retired from West Valley Fire Department. In 1980, the city would not hire anybody who had tattoos because there was a stigma that if we're working on a patient, and most of our patients were older than we were, they would look up, see this person working on them with all these tattoos, and it would affect them psychologically. Well, then the city progressed as the population changed, and any tattoo that was visible had to be covered. But if you have a sleeve over the tattoos, it's no different than having the tattoos exposed. It was the same thought with the people. So now, what the city found out was they couldn't hire anybody at public safety who didn't have tattoos. So we couldn't get police officers and firefighters and public works people because now there were so many tattoos out there. And they run such a wide range. I had firefighters who had a ring tattooed around their finger. So should we exclude them from employment because that's a tattoo? Or do we make the exceptions where it's nothing that's extravagant? And now, it's very hard to walk into a fire station or into a police station and not see some sort of tattoo somewhere. But anyway, like I said, I don't have any tattoos. 2 of my kids do. One is, it's tattoos about this long. It's on her arm right there, and it says passion. And the other one was a Marine Corps sergeant in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he has a sergeant emblem tattooed on his arm. So that's still more than what Nicole's presenting, but it's not complete body things that she's after, which is what I was afraid of when they first broadcast this public hearing on body tattoos. It's not that. It's something that's dear to them, the passion. I saw a guy at a gym today, he had his kids tattooed across his wrist, the 2 names. To me, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, thanks.
Steve?
My name is Greg Hutchins. I live on 225 West. I've been there 45 years. I stand here today in support of Dale and his business. He's trying to make that go. There's been several times he could have closed the doors and walked away, but he's remodeled. He's done a lot to that building over there to make it nice for the women to come in and get their beauty things done. All he did was hire Nicole to help increase his business. And I just think it's strange that some lady says, my cat died, can you put a little paw right here? Nope. Why not? The city won't let me. There's plenty of businesses up and down Main Street that are closed. And this is just a way for him to say, I'm doing everything I can to make Centerville a decent place to live. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Hi, my name is Tammy Bryson. I live in Centerville. I wasn't planning on getting up, but I just wanted Nicole to know I'm not here for anything about the tattoo stuff. I just don't want the zoning change. I honestly am trying to figure out, as a citizen that has lived here for a lot of years, more about what goes on in our city, and I'm learning. But I don't know what the zoning changes are going to bring. And so to me, it's very scary when I'm hearing, hey, there's going to be some zoning changes. And it's too bad that Nicole has to be brought up in the zoning changes. Because I don't have anything against tattoos. But I am concerned about the zoning changes. And so I'm just concerned for all the people that still do not know about the general plan that's going to change. We have a group of kids back here, and I asked, what are you doing here? Well, they're here for a young men's activity. And I asked the leader, do you know anything that's going on in the city? No. So I gave him a general survey and said, you better look at it and fill it out and listen carefully to the January 14th meeting, and you'll learn a lot. I'm learning, but I don't know, and I might be dumb, but I'm learning what zoning means. And I want to know, and I think there should be more people that know what's going on before you make this decision. Please don't make this decision tonight. please wait until more people fill out the general survey and know what's going on before you make this decision about zoning. Anyway, that's just all I have to say.
Thanks, Tammy. Thanks for coming, young man.
Hi, my name is Erica Grant. I'm born and raised in Centerville. And honestly, I'm here to support the changing of the text amendment. I'm actually really excited about Centerville kind of stepping into some of the changes that we've already seen in other cities. In fact, another dear friend of mine actually just had her Fine Line cosmetic tattoo business approved on historic Main Street in Logan, which was a big feat for her. And I know that Logan was quite opposed to it in the beginning because of the historic nature of that street. I'm sure many of you have visited Logan previously. And I don't think that Centerville Main Street holds the same historic kind of clout that Logan's Main Street does. But again, to many of the points of the other people that have spoken here today, we don't want to see businesses closing down. And I think in resistance to some things that are naturally evolving in culture and in our city, as much as being born and raised here, I didn't like to see Centerville growing and expanding too much. Walmart freaked me out, Target freaked me out, right? I like that small town feel. But at the same time, I don't think that sticking to that allows us to actually impose certain values or religious or cultural beliefs on a business or a service provider. And again, the Fine Line tattoos are a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful service. Most of them are simple, meaningful things. My dear cousin suffered a severe loss of a child, and the birth flower tattoo that she got at Fine Lines is an amazing reminder to her. And I'm actually really excited about it, and I hope this is something that the council members will really consider passing. I think it's a great step for Centerville. And I don't think that this small zoning change is a slippery slope to kind of address the comments of the last resident. I don't feel like this is a slippery slope, especially with the two distinctions that have been created by staff, which I think was a great move. So, thank you.
Thanks, Erica.
Hey, council members, thanks for letting me speak. My name's Carrie Montoya. I live in historic Centerville, just a few blocks from New Trent off of Main Street. I'm up on Center Street in 4th East. You guys allowed me to build my house there, so thank you, I appreciate that. I just want to give you my background, and I don't know why I cry every time I address you guys. I have no idea, it's just an emotional thing, I apologize. But I work at an elementary school in South Salt Lake among the refugee community. I have my private investigator's license. I've served legal documents for over 17 years all across the state, all while volunteering at my local PTA and state PTA. I share this experience just so you know that I have met millions of people across my wakes of life, and all types of communities, all types of families, all types of stuff. Allowing body art in our old town can bring a fresh wave of creativity and diversity while preserving its unique charm. Body art is a form of personal expression and an art that resonates with people from all walks of life. Moreover, body artists are skilled professionals who can create custom designs that reflect the rich history and culture of our town and our community. Imagine beautiful, historically inspired body art that pay homage to our heritage. It's a fantastic way to keep our history alive in our modern context. Body art can also foster a sense of inclusivity and acceptance, showing that our town values personal expression and diversity. This progressive mindset will make our community more appealing to new residents and businesses, ultimately contributing to its growth and its prosperity. I do not have a tattoo. I will never get one. I do not desire to ever have one. However, that does not mean that because I do not want one, that I should hinder others who do want one. I understand the concern that some may have about rezoning and allowing body art studios in our old town. It's a natural worry about the type of clientele it might attract or how it could impact our community's atmosphere. However, Fine Line body art is not for bikers, gang members, etc. They're for our doctors, our policemen, our firemen, our mothers, our fathers, our teachers, our friends, and our neighbors. By allowing and embracing body art studios, we can maintain our town's unique charm while evolving with the times, ensuring a dynamic and thriving future for all. I ask that the City Council vote in favor of the new verbiage that was presented and allow fine line tattooing on Main Street. I also like the verbiage that Nicole stated about being in a salon setting. I ask you guys to consider that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the chance to speak. My name is Miley Sessions, and my mom and I traveled from West Haven, Utah, about 35 minutes away to be here today. I would just like to say this community is so beautifully bonded, has a special connection amongst the people living here, and you all are so supportive of one another to be here today. I would say Nicole is part of the heart of this community. She is a kind soul that is creating bonds and special experiences with her clients. She makes every appointment very personal to me and my family, always remembers the small details about each and every one of her clients, always greets everyone with a warm hug and smile. Her personality is a perfect example of what the bonds in this community mean. She is creating a growing business for New Trends, and my mom and I would love to support her in her actions for being a fine line tattoo artist in Centerville. Her special personality and special connections she seems to create would be beautiful to see through her work. She would be the perfect person for this project. She would be leaving forever marks through her work and special marks on people's hearts, while bringing to life the personal meanings behind each fine line tattoo. Standing with Nicole, we are in hopes that she can grow her cosmetics tattooing as well as fine line tattoos. Why should placement matter if she's using the same tattoo needles, ink, etc.? Fine line body tattooing should be passed and should be able to be practiced on Main Street in New Trends. Without the branding of, sorry, I'm going to skip that. As an almost 18-year-old, I am hoping that Nicole will get the pass and I will get to have the meaningful experience of getting my family's birth flowers and my mother's handwriting saying "I love you" fine line tattooed. I hope the council approves this project.
Thanks, Miley.
Hello, my name's Marty Newey, and I am here to say I think it's a great idea to make the amendment. And I have no preparation, I just showed up, and as I'm listening, I felt like Nicole addressed, here are some of the concerns that I've heard, and here is how I've addressed them. And it seems totally reasonable to me. My daughter, she has a scar and she's extremely self-conscious about it. She has a little OCD and she's always, "Can you see my scar? Can you see my scar?" She is so delighted that she's going through a process now and they're doing a lot of work on it, and eventually she'll have some skin color tattoo that will be helping her with her image, that's going to help her. Any of the concerns that have perhaps been expressed, I don't understand why they would be a concern as I listen to this. And the argument, and again, I'm new to this, the idea that we should wait until a master plan zone happens because there's a lot of, that's going to be a bigger thing. To me, it's, you hear the expression "no harm, no foul." I don't even understand why that could be an issue, because that may take some time, and eventually if the idea is that we want it to be part of the master zone, maybe, I don't know how long that is out, and if it ultimately was part of that, what's the harm of New Trends being able to make that come into effect sooner than that? I don't understand how zoning works, and it's bad to make that change now because we're going to make something later on. That's just my impression. I don't even understand what the problem is, honestly. Thank you.
Marty, for the record, will you state where you're from?
I'm from Centerville.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Amber Packer. I live on Chase Lane. Recently, I'm not from Centerville. I'm actually from Clearfield, which I know people are like, ugh. But I've heard some people talk, and I think I'm very confused, and so maybe it would help if we. So there's a concern about changing the zoning, and my question is like, is there a way for the city to put fine line art into like the zoning that's already accepted for like permanent makeup? Like, I don't know. Where did that definition come from? And why can't the fine line art go with the makeup that's already happening?
So that's what's being proposed.
That is what's being proposed? But then but people are worried about the zoning change.
You go ahead.
I've heard that.
We don't answer the.
Yeah, we don't really go, we'll explain
Okay.
it after the public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Try not to engage in the back and forth during.
Okay, I know that like, that's where people are getting stuck, and I'm like, okay, well, thank
So
you.
we'll address all the questions after the public hearing closes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amber.
Hi, my name is Julie Cahoon. I live in Centerville, Porter, Walton community. Now, I appreciate the work that has gone into this discussion. My concern is if the fine line, and I get the fine line piece is something that's close and near and dear, but what if, let's say, it was inappropriate, and maybe that put Nicole in an inappropriate situation, not that that's any of her clientele. But where would you limit that ordinance or put something on that free speech as a city? Now, I'm not trying to be a naysayer. I'm trying to look at it at all perspectives, right? So if somebody went into the tattoo or into new trends and asked her to do something that is out of her purview and would be somewhat uncomfortable for her, and would that be okay to allow that in this piece? As well as if we didn't allow tattoos prior to this and were tattooing makeup, why did that be allowed in a business piece already in Centerville? That's the question that I'm asking. I know that there's a lot of thought that's going into this piece. That's just what I'm trying to say as, like, as you guys put the effort and energy into it to hear out the community and hear out the needs of the community, to look at those perspectives as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Al Harrison, Centerville. Sorry, I'm a little tired. It's past my bedtime. Two things I just want to talk about real quick. I want to start out with a quote from Sharif Shaw. He's one of our coaches that's very near and dear to my heart. And something he always says is, "Your actions speak so loud, I cannot hear what you're saying." So something I wanted to, after the last meeting we had, spoke with a gentleman that was sitting in the front row. And I'm not going to say who, I don't think that's necessary, but he had said that he had been cold called along with several other people that showed up that night by a city council member to show up to protest. I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like a zoning issue. That sounds like letting somebody's personal ideology get in the way of the zoning issue. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me. Second thing I want to talk about is how blessed we are that this is a quote-unquote issue that we're talking about tonight, letting tattooing happen in the city, whether it's Main Street, other side of the highway, whatever it is. You know, many of you guys know I've gotten up and talked before. I play football for the University of Utah, and that's how I make my living, take care of my wife, my family. And because of that, I've been able to meet and talk with people from every walk of life. I mean, I've sat with people who are from the South, the East, California, and I listen to some of their stories. And it's incredible to me that we're talking about this when I sat with one of my teammates a week ago, as he bawled his eyes out to me, because it was the anniversary of his little brother's death. He was shot and killed in gang violence in Compton, California, walking home from school. So it was brought up at the last meeting, oh, what if my son walking home from school sees a tattoos parlor over here on Main Street? Let's just be grateful your son can walk home from school. Because he's lost his little brother 5 years ago, and he'll never see him again until he ends up in heaven with him. Or a couple years ago, there was a shooting in Rose Park. One of my best friends lost his cousin who died in a gang shooting in front of his house. These are not the issues we worry about here, thank God. That is not something we have to worry about, but I think we all need to kind of take a step back and count the blessings that these are not the issues that are getting brought up tonight. Our kids getting gunned down on Main Street. It's whether or not a woman can move tattooing from up here to the rest of the body. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Well, we're new trends. That's all I can say. We've been in business for, like we said, 40 years or more, and Nicole has been an added asset to our salon, and I hope you guys let her do what she's going to do, because she'll do it well.
Yep. Owner of New Trends, Dale and Karen George, down the street. Thank you for your service. Appreciate all that you've done for our city. We've been blessed to own our business for 40 years here in Centerville. And we'd like to think that we beautified the city for that length of time. And what we're after is an extension of that beautification service to allow, if you would allow us to do the fine line tattooing. I've sat in on Nicole's work on eyebrows, and to see the clients come out with just so happy that what they've produced, she has produced. She's shown us some of the fine line tattooing that she's wanting to do, and it's beautiful work of art, and it's just, I mean, it's no different than going in and getting a lady, especially getting her beautiful hair done and looking in the mirror, and yeah, it's beautiful. I don't see any difference of the head of hair and this extension that she wants to do with the fine line tattooing. It's beautiful work of art that I've seen. So, we would love the chance to give this opportunity to those, it's a very personal choice, of those that would like that service in our city. And would like to thank all of you for your support in this process, and thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
My name is Darlene Remington, and I'm from Centerville. And I'm just here to support Nicole and this fine line tattooing. Actually, beautiful art that she does. I have not had her do any work on me, but shockingly, I do have a tattoo that I got in my 20s, which a lot of people that are watching this now will be super surprised at. But I'm still capable of working with elementary school kids. I work in elementary school. I have kids that attend elementary school, attended the junior high, the high school. I have never had a concern about them walking in the city of Centerville. And I have zero concern being elevated with something like this being on Main Street. I think this does not need to wait for any more zoning. I think it should be pushed forward and not have to wait. I think she deserves the opportunity to provide for her family and do the beautiful art she does, whether it's on someone's face, arms, or legs. Thank you.
Thanks, Darlene.
Is this the microphone?
Yeah, it's live.
I'm Bruce Smith. I'm from Centerville. I think I've been assigned here to be the comic relief of all this occasion here this evening. Actually, I turned to my wife just now, I says, I'm going to get up. And she grabbed my arm and says, no, don't. I'm not sure if she had better advice for me than I myself. My first question is Brian Plummer logged in, or is he in on this?
I believe he is listening in, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, a couple things. When we deal with these kinds of issues, we have to kind of remind ourselves that we're not just dealing with the present person making the request. If we were to make a change in the general plan, it would not only affect them, but it'd affect every single request that would come yet still in the future. I'm fairly confident, I think as the rest of us are, that the person who's making the request here is very sincere, and she has in mind to do everything that she says and keeps it within the confines of that one lane and that type of thing. But when we make a change to the general plan, specifically the zoning, we're not making it for just one person. We're making it for other people who may want to do the same thing in the future. And we do not know if they will be just as circumspect in their actions as has been purported here. And so I think we need to kind of keep that in mind with regards to these types of things. And I had another question. Maybe someone can help me out here. I can't think of a single business here or anywhere for that matter that in order to totally enforce it, and I'm being facetious when I say this, that you would have a police officer right outside the establishment to see if they complied with that swim lane, so to speak, to see if they did it only with the confines that they said. What are they going to do, take off their coat and show what I've done and that sort of thing? So the enforcement of this type of permission or amendment, as it is called, needs to be something we need to chew on a little bit, because that would be an issue. I'm sure you would agree. So, okay, let's just play like my time just started right now, because I wasn't going to say either one of those things, but let me say something else. Out of a fluke, I was able to get that survey that was passed around, and I quickly sat down on the computer and I started to type out my responses to the survey. I use a computer rather than a pencil and an eraser because I'd be using a lot of the eraser. The delete key works better for me. Well, after doing that for a little while, I was going to take a break, and I looked at the number of pages at that particular point that I had filled out so far. It was 7 pages, and I had just got started. So if it's okay, in the briefest of terms, let me share with you maybe just the first one of the principles that I laid forward in my response to the survey. Incidentally, everything I said, that is to say, everything I wrote, was based on principles that have withstood the test of time. And so the question is this: does a community and the citizens within that community have the right to determine what kind of city, what kind of lifestyle they would like, based on their values, their interests, and their desires? Well, the answer for a free society is yes. And we need to ask that question quite frequently. Not only ask the question, but answer the question. But not only answer the question, we need to apply the question as well. Now, that principle is true no matter whether you're talking about an individual or a family or a village or a township or a city or a state or a nation. So let me just quickly fast forward to the nations to make a point here, and then I'll quickly sit down, which I'm sure my wife will appreciate. Anyway, what I was going to say was just look at the nation. When we formed this nation, we made a declaration. We declared that we had certain values that we wanted to have in our society. As good as that declaration was, it wasn't enough. We had to have a means of enforcing that and making it to protect the rights of everyone. And so we made a constitution. Now, if we want to amend, and by the way, I've heard the word amendment quite frequently this evening, making an amendment, If we wanted to amend that, you and I know that that's very difficult. And as a result, over the last 250 years, there's been precious few amendments. It's very difficult to push through amendment. Why? Because we've already established it, and we need to protect the rights of everyone in that nation or family or city or whatever, that type of thing. And so, does Centerville City have a constitution, as it were? Well, the answer is yes. And one of the forms of that constitution is the general plan. And we should not change that plan for light or transit causes, to use the words of Thomas Jefferson. He also said, by the way, that we need to, those who want to quickly change it out of a whim, we need to bind them down for mischief by the change of the Constitution, he said. And so I'm suggesting, no, first of all, let me say this. I am a witness. I think there's only about 2 or 3 people that are older than I am here. I'm old. But I am a witness that there were hundreds of people in Centerville in decades past that created the general plan. And I'm also a witness that they spent hundreds of hours creating it. Now, more recently, it's been tweaked unnecessarily. But we should not change, we should have the same restrictions on us as it is on the amendments to the Constitution. We need to be very, very careful because we're not making decisions for the present moment and for our present person making a request. We're making decisions for the futurity of our cities based on our values, our interests, and our desires. That has already been created. And I don't think anybody here knows that because they're not as old as I am. It took hours and people to create what we want as a city. And we need to pledge allegiance to that. And if we are going to make an amendment to that, perhaps, in fact, I wrote it down. One lady said over here, please do not make this decision until we get our finger on the pulse of what people want. Now, I'm not sure that the survey you're suggesting on a postcard will do the trick. I have, to be brief, I have helped create and administer surveys. And to the extent that every single person within that population was contacted, and we had on an average 85% response back on the surveys that I was able to administer on an academic and a community nature. Let's make haste, but let's make haste slowly and wisely. Because I have children and grandchildren, and I want to make it for them as well. Now, there's a lot more of those 7 pages than the other ones I've subsequently written. But let's just start with that one and ask the question, does a community have the right to have a community according to their values, according to their desires, and their interests? I leave that rhetorical question for you to ask yourself and also to answer. Thank you. I took more than 3 minutes. Sorry.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
My name's Leslie Coombs. I've lived here my entire life. I work at Nutrends. I've worked there for 30 plus years. I feel like everything that needs to be said has been said, but it's like way out of hand. This is silly as can be because Nicole comes to work, I go to work, Karen goes to work, my mom comes to work. We don't care what each other is doing. So the gentleman, no disrespect to him, that just got up, it doesn't affect anyone whatsoever. I don't even know what Nicole does unless I go in her room and open her door. Her client goes in, they get their service, and they walk out. It's a friendly environment. Everyone's friends. A lot of the people in this room come to New Trends. But the demographics aren't going to change. No one's going to know what anyone else is doing. It's silly. But however, the industry that we're in changes. When I started at New Trends at 18, I was doing long-haired spiral perms and flat tops and bowl cuts and things like that. The aesthetics and that type of industry was not even available. So we have to move along with the industry as it changes. And it's just another service that she can offer her clients, and it doesn't affect anyone else, not even me. I work there. I'm not going to get a tattoo. That's not my thing, but I support her. She's professional. She does a good job. Her clients love her, as it's been stated, and it doesn't affect anyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie.
My name is Richard Palmer. I'm from Centerville, Carrington Lane. I'm probably the most deaf person in this room. I don't care what people get as far as tattoos and the like. I think that everybody should be free to do that. The reason I said I think I'm probably the most deaf person in this room is I had to do a search to see what line body art is. So a question to you, are you just wanting to do cosmetic tattooing as far as lips, eyes, that kind of thing? Or you want to do this kind of stuff?
Sorry, if you can just address your comments to the
Pardon me?
city. If you can address your
You're
comments.
asking
Yeah,
us,
okay.
she will have a chance to
So
respond.
I didn't know, so I looked at it, and to me, I can't really tell a whole lot of difference between line art tattoos and regular tattoos. Looks like it's less colorization, but they can still be pretty massive. Again, I don't care if people get them. The concerns that I have is advertising. I don't want to see, tattoo parlor or anything like that. That would be a concern to me, because I am concerned about the children in our community. They're very impressionable. They seem to want to do whatever is in vogue. And so that's a concern to me. I would discourage my kids to do it, but again, if other kids want to do it and their parents allow it, that's great. I guess what my big thing would be is, if we're going to do this kind of stuff, and I know it's kind of an interesting situation with this shop, because they do hair and I guess nails and all sorts of different things, and so there's kind of a mix there. But I would like to see that maybe done in a different zone. That would be my comment. Again, I have no problem with people getting tattoos. I wouldn't get one myself, but that doesn't mean nobody else should get them either. I just think that, if we're going to advertise it, and I don't know what she's planning on doing there, but that would be a concern. I wouldn't want to see that on Main Street, because again, I don't want to see other businesses through a zoning change come in that might be doing vaping and that kind of stuff. I just don't know where this rabbit hole goes. So maybe what we need to do is take a breath and think about this for a while. I don't know if we're ready to make a decision. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Good comments. Thank you, Richard.
Hi, how's it going? My name's Aiden. I'm from Centerville. I lived here my whole life. I live in Farmington now. My mom, she actually works at New Trends, and to see what she's been able to get done cosmetically, and to see the shift in her own self-perspective and love herself again, has been something that has personally brightened my own day, and being able to see her thrive and love herself again has just been awesome. And I just don't really understand the schematics of the words and what's used, and why it's okay to get eyebrows tattooed, but if you would it be an issue to get eyebrows tattooed on your arm, or is that an issue? Because it's still fine line. So I don't really understand it too much, but I think Nicole's doing an awesome job, and here to support her. Thank you guys.
Aiden, can we get your last name for the record?
It's Christensen.
Thank you.
just want to come up for a minute, because I only made a few comments before. I'm concerned this has nothing to do with Nicole. It is about zoning, because if Nicole died or something happened to her, she moved, we have that zoning in place. What else could come? Somebody else said vaping, smoking. I am concerned about the zoning. This has nothing to do about, I don't care if anybody has a tattoo, I have nothing against it. Has nothing to do. It is the zoning that is important and what could happen and that door that opens. That is what's important.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, my name's Joshua Rennie. I've been living here for about 20 years now, since I was 5. I don't have much to say about the zoning issue, but I just wanted to say, me and my family, we've been watching this from home on the YouTube live stream. There was a gentleman a couple people ago that just went on for a while. And it's my understanding that we got a time limit of about 2 to 3 minutes, and me and my family, we were just kind of getting annoyed. We just kind of wanted to pick things up, so we'd like to respectfully ask that the time limits be adhered to. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Unsworth. I live in Bountiful on the border of Centerville, and I support the amendment for Mrs. Hutchins. It is important to understand the vast difference between fine line art and the traditional tattooing. And to imagine that it's a slippery slope from one to the other is almost out of the question. Furthermore, as a beauty professional myself, these relationships we foster with our favorite hair lady, nail lady, piercer, or fine line artist are very precious to our clients, particularly to women. I'm sure the owners of New Trends can attest to the deep and meaningful relationships happening within its walls, and it's not a seedy establishment, nor does it want to be. And I'm sure if it could just pick itself up and place it where it is zoned for the tattooing, then I'm sure it could, but that's a very difficult thing to do, and they have worked hard to create a very, very nice establishment there. Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie.
My name is Rick Bingham, and I live here in Centerville. I am still mad that they turned the old Centerville lumberyard into a beauty parlor. I'm teasing. I think it was an improvement, but I think the mayor made a good point that I just wanted to put my spin on. The mayor was asking the question, where do you want to go from where you are? And I think that's a good question. Another question that might be related is, does changing the zoning improve, elevate, or enhance Centerville City in any way? Or is it questionable? I don't think we'd be having this discussion if there wasn't some stigma or question about it. The other day, my wife and I turned on the television just in time to catch the end of a popular game show, and we heard the host say, we asked 100 single women what the first clue was that their blind date had recently gotten out of prison. The number one answer was tattoos. And I know that's a long way from where Nicole is at, but I still think there's a stigma attached to tattoos, and there's a wide range of tattoos. And so, is it a slippery slope? Where do you draw the fine line? And so I think that's a question that our council has to ask itself. Where is that line? And if we change the zoning, does that move the line a little shorter away from our city values? Anyway, that's some of my thinking and thoughts about this issue, and I hope you make a wise deliberation. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. This, you come up here and it's a public hearing. We're writing down all the questions and we respond to those at the end. The applicant gets a chance to respond, the staff gets a chance to respond. And so if we'll try and cover all the questions. So if we miss, then hopefully we've all caught it. But we're just taking comment right now. And you can ask questions in your comments.
You
But-
can ask a question, we just won't answer it until we're all done with the.
Yeah, just to keep things moving along. The applicant and the staff and us will get a chance to respond.
Okay, really quick then, I'm sorry, I'm just so confused because there's Jenny Shepherd from Centerville. There's a lot of this talk about slippery slope and bringing in all different types of establishments that people find seedy and not to their liking. Is that part of what is being proposed here? Like, it seems to me like you were talking earlier about just allowing the fine line, that's what this. Does that mean that if this is proposed and put through, does that mean that there could be full tattoo shops that come in? Or vape shops or other type of shops? I'm just confused because I thought that wasn't on the agenda for the day. So I don't know why people are still talking about that if that's not what the agenda of the day is. I'm just confused. Because I can see why that could be an issue, but if that's not it, I was just hoping that we could know so that we could bypass that portion of the talking. So hopefully that will be addressed soon. I don't know. Thank you.
Judy.
Mayor, just a point of order. I know we're almost done, but just to respect everyone, if you've already come up, please don't come up again. You've had your time. We could go circles and circles, so you get one shot. I think people have been very prepared, but if you can please just come up once.
My name is Ted Olson. I live in 514 Windsor Court in Centerville. And I have been trying to decide whether to come up or not, but I get asked questions, and so I am. I really appreciate the granular nature you took in defining what was going on here with Mike's explanation and Nicole's. And my question, I guess, is can the city council in going through this, can they narrowly define what kinds of tattoos can be used or designed or applied? Are we afraid of what somebody might want to put on their neck? Or are we concerned about that? You know, I personally don't want to see anything pornographic on anybody's neck. And I think, and I don't think Nicole's planning on doing that. And I think that people have a right for self-expression. My thoughts are really disorganized right now. But I'm wondering if you can define it that way so that we don't have to, nobody has to worry about those types of things. There's a definition that the Supreme Court has come up with for what defines pornography, and what would be, and the city has its own right to set their own values. But I'm confident that with your detailed exploration of this issue, and I think what Nicole is planning on doing, I think we would be fine in limiting that for other future businesses that would locate here also. It's addressing Bruce Smith's concern. But those are just some of my random and somewhat disorganized thoughts.
Thanks, Ted. Anybody online want to comment? Or have they?
If anybody online would like to comment, you're welcome to unmute and do so now. No one's unmuting.
Okay. Seeing nobody else standing up unless there's last chance. Going once, going twice, gone. Then I will close the public hearing, and we will give the applicant a chance to respond, staff, and the council as well too. Applicant, do you care to respond before I make any comments, or council or staff?
I guess to your comment, I do have a moral code. I mean, as far as what I will and won't tattoo. I would never put anything pornographic on someone's neck. During my mentorship, I kind of made a decision that I wasn't going to tattoo men unless they came with a partner or a spouse. That was just for my own comfort. But if someone shows up and wants me to tattoo something awful on their neck, I, as an artist, can say, I don't feel comfortable doing that, so I hope that answers your question. As far as the gentleman over here, talking about our ancestors and all the hours and the days and the months it took us to make known what we wanted, I don't know that our ancestors knew at that time how our world would change and mold into what it is now. We had the UTA lady up here. I don't know that our ancestors also didn't put anything in coding and words for the roads and all of that stuff. I mean, our world has changed since we wrote these zoning codes however many years ago. So times change. I think someone also mentioned a slippery slope of where I wanted to take this, and I think the enforcement on this is my education. If somebody comes in and wants me to do a full tribal sleeve in color, I would turn that down because I don't know how to do it. And I don't want to ever put something on somebody's body that I don't feel comfortable that I can make beautiful. So I think that I didn't learn that way, so I'm not permitted to do traditional tattooing. So I think that was another question. I don't know. Was there anything else that you guys have for me that I didn't address?
Nicole, can I ask you?
Yeah.
Because I've potentially proposed some just clarification.
Yeah.
Maybe to not, at least address other permanent cosmetic issues that may and do arise. I already asked about performing them in a salon beauty shop setting. I think you're comfortable with that. But I think what I may propose to the council, depending on how it goes, is recreating also lost other body features that due to mastectomies. We talk about chemotherapy, but everything here is neck up, and that wouldn't be all inclusive. Again, you're not proposing that, but I think as it relates to the definition of permanent cosmetics, that may be something.
Well, and I think medical tattooing moving forward to, that's something else our ancestors didn't think about. People that lose their breasts and have reconstruction, or hairlines. Gentlemen that are balding, it's now a tradition, or not a tradition, but a service that you can come in and have your hairline tattooed on so you're no longer bald. I mean, whether or not you guys approve that and put that in here now, it's very likely in the next 5 to 10 years that you're going to have somebody come back to you and say, can I tattoo areolas? Can I tattoo hairlines? Can I do scar coverage for people? I mean, that should all be under personal services.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mike's coming up. Let me make a couple of comments. First off, there was a couple, 3 references to businesses closing down. Unless I'm really mistaken, on Main Street, I don't see businesses closing down. Maverick closed their doors, but it's because they have a bigger facility elsewhere, and they'll do something with that building. They'll lease it or sell it. So I don't, as a mayor and council, we're really concerned about the economics in our city. I got kids coming to me wanting to put a Raising Cane's in where Carl's Jr. is, so, you know, which I think sounds kind of fun, but I'm not overly concerned about businesses closing down on Main Street right now, not the economy we're in. And then as far as the postcard issue, that was proposed in a work session just to give everybody a chance, all households, to address a larger issue. There'll be a QR code on it or where they can go to do a longer survey, okay? Comment to Leslie, who works there. Leslie, you might not be aware of what Nicole's doing, but I'll tell you, your bosses are, because anybody that's running a business, they want to do the right thing, and I run a business, and I know that, and so as a business owner, you got to know what's going on. So sometimes employees don't look after, but especially in our society, where we're an honest-based society, and we enforce ourselves, that leads to the enforcement issue. Most enforcement happens in all cities by complaints. And so we're not going to be over there every day monitoring what's going on. People are on the honesty system here. And so it's important that you do monitor each other and you do know what's going on with those people, because if not only for your own job, you don't lose your own job, okay? I think, Jennifer, you responded just after Rick. I think the concern there when you say, does this mean tattoo shops will come in, is the concern is a fine line tattooing maybe works to the larger tattooing we're talking about. Then you're talking about a tattoo shop, which possibly leads to other things that might be associated with tattooing. So that's the slippery slope that they're talking about. But no, right now we're talking about fine line tattooing is what we're talking about. And then, once again, what kind of tattoos? Nicole kind of responded to that. I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to regulate what they're doing. You just hope that, you know, that appropriate things are being done. So, and so that's some of what I had. I'm sure I missed some comments, but council will get to it as well too, or Mike. So, Mike, do you have something else for us?
Just with your last comment about enforcement, that is why we've added the 12.55.260. That is regulatory. It's going back to Davis County also has a regulatory arm, which they exercise, and they do check on it. And I think at our last meeting in November, Nicole, you evidenced that where they do licensing and registration and even do inspections of facilities. So we do have that additional element doing the enforcement, and obviously even state Utah standards. She does have to meet state Utah standards for her facility. The only other thing I would note that there is, in all fairness to the question, there is a discussion about body art facility, namely that we are suggesting potentially a definition and then recategorizing it and also looking at the table of uses to see if there is a fit for it. So that is still something just to make sure that that is part of the commentary. Other than that, I don't really have anything more to add, Mayor. I think you covered everything else that was a question, and I'm happy to answer any questions or in tandem with Lisa, participate in any discussion. I pulled up the language ready to, if there's any amendments that need to be discussed or even suggested. So I'm really at your direction how you want to proceed at this point.
Mike, can you address, we had a gentleman ask about, his concern was about advertising.
I mean, you know, New Trends has the right to advertise, and I think they have a changing type board, so, you know, I don't know that we have a regulatory authority to say what they can and can't message. I suppose, again, it's complaint-based. If there was something that was of concern that we would try to enforce the court. Well,
we have a sign ordinance, correct?
Right, and we do follow sign ordinance to that aspect, but yeah. But even to the part of the body art facility by extension, you know, with that discussion, were we to look at it going into a commercial very high setting, there would then be sign ordinance, but if they followed sign ordinance, then obviously they could apply accordingly. So I don't want to oversell or undersell the commentary. Could there be a sign that at some point could say body art studio or even tattoo? I don't know. It just depends on where this discussion goes tonight and what ultimately you as council decide. Be the best way I could answer that.
I just wanted to make sure we clarified and answered that question.
Yeah. So that would be my answer to that.
Other questions for Mike?
Mike, on the table of uses specifically for the body art facility, you put the question marks next to commercial high, industrial medium, industrial high, and industrial very high. You took off the question mark on commercial very high. Do we know what Bountiful or other surrounding cities designate?
That research has not been done.
Okay.
No.
I can answer that. I actually spoke with Gary Hill at Bountiful City today. He said that they do allow body art in their general business district, but not in the downtown area, which is kind of their,
Okay.
I don't know exactly
So
what
in our
that,
commercial
it was a
district would be
brief conversation.
commercial medium, which staff has already noted as a not permitted use for the body art facility. So that would be consistent.
Well, and I think it's, I think what he was talking about was all types of body art, so whether it's permanent, I'm not sure on exactly in the downtown, I just know that he said that we don't allow that in the downtown district.
Mike, with respect to the definitions, I understand that body art facility is something that we've largely borrowed from Davis County. With regard to the fine line tattoos and cosmetics definition, is that something that we borrowed or looked to, or is that something that we created from whole cloth?
We had to create it. There really wasn't a good definition. So I'm talking to the applicant and working with Lisa, even in looking at Google just to try to formulate it and thinking about what the conversation was on November 6th. This is the definition that seemed to be concise, direct, and formulated correctly to at least meet the intent of what was discussed on the 6th.
Thank you.
Further comments? But I think what we're looking at, council, is you need to make sure that you understand the text amendment before you. You got the proposal to defer, a proposal for, a proposal against it. Whatever proposal's made, I'll ask for further discussion, but unless there's further discussion now, before I look for a motion.
Can I just float maybe some suggested language for council to stew on?
Okay.
Maybe we can discuss, based off of Nicole's representation of performing it in salon setting, and then my personal life experience with an individual and multiple individuals that have gone through breast cancer and mastectomy and reconstruction. I would suggest that the definition of permanent cosmetics would be a cosmetic treatment which is performed in a salon or beauty shop setting. So I'd insert that language there so the location is defined. And then involving the controlled insertion of pigment into the skin as a means of producing designs that. And then I would insert that recreate lost natural body features or that resemble makeup such as eyebrows, eyelining, and other natural enhancing colors to the face, lips, eyelids, and hairline. Permanent cosmetic is solely for replacing natural body features or enhancing or replacing natural body features that were or already present, period, and then strike or to provide artificial eyebrows, because that's already been addressed for those who have lost it, and no changes after that. Sorry, that was probably very
This
fast.
under which definition?
The permanent cosmetics.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
You want to restrict it to only beauty or salon settings,
I'm
but you want to
suggesting-
expand it to allow for recreation of
Natural
body features.
Correct.
You want to add that to the fine line?
No, to the definition of permanent cosmetics.
Okay, permanent cosmetics.
I think that just clarifies location and type. I don't know if location is as important. It seems like it's been important to some community members, and the applicant isn't opposed to it.
So, I need help with that one. I don't know if you can answer it, or any council members, or Lisa or Mike. When we talk about that, in November, we had a resident in here who's a dear friend that had cancer and talked about how she used to get her confidence back, eyelashes put back on and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So obviously, maybe Nicole's qualified to do that, but other reconstruction, breast reconstruction, you gotta have a doctor who's doing that, so.
Not for pigmentation. We're talking about permanent cosmetics, not for surgery.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just cosmetics. Because it's defined as a cosmetic treatment.
Okay. Which.
Not a surgical
that-
procedure.
That resident, that was
Yeah, so-
cosmetics,
yeah.
putting eyelashes back on.
Yep.
I don't know if what you were asking, Shaylin, was about our ordinance for the makeup tattoos. When we did that, Corey was very specific and very careful and spent a lot of time. I have had 2 cities tell me that they love what he did, and they're actually, I think it's North Salt Lake that's redoing theirs right now, and they said they were just gonna probably use his verbatim because it was such an excellent ordinance. When we did that ordinance, I was one of the big proponents on makeup tattoos. Couldn't see anything wrong with that. And so I helped push that one through. And so at the time, he was trying to help us because he said, as soon as you open the door, then you're going to have this, and then you're going to have this. And I'll be honest, I've been on here 9 years, and this is one of the hardest things I've ever had to vote. Karen was cutting my baby's hair. I've been to Nutrends since I was barely married. I love all of the people here. But one thing I don't feel like anybody understands, that a lot of the people, when they ask questions, I wanted to say, has nothing to do with tattooing. And I know some of you will say, well, you just don't like tattooing. I could care less who has a tattoo. I don't care if you have a indecent tattoo. If I want to put something on my butt, it's nobody's business. So we're not voting on tattoos. I learned a lot on our last meeting, that I really did a lot of thinking about people's tattoos and what they mean to them, and that was very interesting to me. But it didn't have anything to do with what I'm voting on, because what I'm voting on is a zoning issue. And we're not voting on whether you can have tattoos, whether you're a good person or a bad person if you have tattoos. We're not telling you you can't have tattoos. Half of you people here have tattoos. We're not saying, oh, you can't have tattoos. So I feel like some of this gets off. If I could say Nicole can do tattoos in Nutrends, I would vote for yes in a second. I have no qualms about Nicole doing tattoos. I have no qualms that she's going to do something she's not supposed to, because I don't really care what she puts on somebody if they want it on there. But the problem is, I can't give it to Nicole without giving it to everyone else on Main Street. And so that's what I'm having to vote for, is will other businesses come to Main Street? Not that a tattoo is a bad thing. I don't care if you have a tattoo or not. But is it going to bring, when I called North Salt Lake and I talked to their planner, they said, your Main Street is old, but in some ways it's new and you're trying to redefine it. Is that going to bring the businesses that go with it? So we're not giving this to Nicole, we're giving it to all of Main Street. And to begin with, I still thought, well, we're not going to really have a tattoo shop come on Main Street. But then when I got to looking, they're very popular. Bountiful has 5, and they say they're doing great. North Salt Lake has 5 all in one strip. So I do think Corey was right when he said to me, if you want makeup, you're going to get makeup. But then somebody's going to want to add something else. Somebody else is going to want to add something else. So I can't, knowing that it's next to residential homes, knowing the kind of business. So I had a doctor, I was with a doctor today who actually has an office on our Main Street. And I said to him, what do you think about it? He knew nothing. He's asking me, what's going on in Centerville? So I said, well, this is what I'm looking at tonight. And he goes, I wouldn't invest if I was afraid that I was going to have a tattoo shop right next to me. He says, I don't have a problem with tattoos, but I want to be next to ophthalmologists, to accountants, to a professional place. I think Centerville should have tattoos. I think everybody in Centerville that wants one should have one. And I think if Nicole wants to do them, she should be able to do them. But I don't think Main Street is the appropriate place, and I think we need to relook at this. I can't tell her where tonight. I haven't had enough time to look into that to see where I think the appropriate places would be. But I think there are appropriate places that we can do tattoos. And it isn't about tattoos. You say, well, if it, you think of tattoos, but that's why you won't put it on Main Street. We had an electrician's family, very prominent family here in Centerville a few years ago, buy a building on Main Street. Loved them, grew up with them. They came to my house and they're like, we need this rezoned because you don't allow construction on Main Street, construction offices. I said, I can't. I don't want all of those vans. I don't want stuff in the yard. He, I know, would have kept a perfect building, but it would have allowed everybody to. So we said no, and that was, I don't hate construction workers, I don't hate construction companies, but out of that, we ended up with a wonderful accountant's office and a neighborhood gym, and it fits our Main Street perfectly. So from that, I learned that sometimes it's hard to say no, but if you're doing what's best that you think is for the community, we need to get our Main Street with businesses that can coexist with single-family homes, because there's a single-family home next to almost every business on Main Street. And so I just, it's hard. I'd love to give it to Nicole. If you can find a way where I can just zone New Trends for this, let's do it. But if I've got to zone all of Main Street, I just can't open it up, because you and I both know that there's going to be somebody else that's going to want to do just a little bit more and open up a shop. And from what I understand, they're making great money and they're all over, and tons of people want the tattoos. So that's where my problem comes from, is not anything about tattoos. Like I said, constructions was the exact same thing to me. So I don't hate constructions. I don't hate tattoos. I don't think construction people are bad. I don't think people that get tattoos are bad. Some are good, some are bad in both places. But I don't believe that I can support this. And so I think that's what the people here need to know is, I'm not voting against tattoos. You're all saying Nicole does a beautiful job. My grandson loves Nicole. So this is really hard. He'll probably never speak to me again. And he's only 5, by the way, so it's okay. But I just cannot say that I think it's going to be what's best for Centerville and for our Main Street. It doesn't hurt anything for Nicole to do it in New Trends. I totally 100% agree with that. But there's no way I can just give it to Nicole, and you are going to have other people coming in and wanting to do it.
Robin, are you suggesting that we should change our zoning to disallow for the permanent cosmetics that
No.
Nicole is already doing?
No, I'm not.
Are you aware of any problems that anyone has had on Main Street with the permanent cosmetics that Nicole has been doing in a
I was a 100%
salon?
proponent for that. I'm not worried about what Nicole's doing at all. But I'm worrying about what we're opening the door for, because we did permanent cosmetics. Now it's like, just give me fine lines. But if you just give her fine lines, what's going to come next? And it isn't just fine lines. If you read it, it says shading and shadowing. And so there is more to it. I think you're going to get some other studios on our Main Street. I think we need the studios to service our people, but I don't think they need to be on Main Street. Like this doctor said to me, I won't build my clinic there on Main Street. We've spent a long time, and years ago, I think it was 2007, they went through, because there was so much conflict between residential and what we're allowing. Nicole isn't bothering any of the neighbors. She doesn't smell, she doesn't make any noise, she doesn't bring any bad people in. If we could just keep it at that, that's fine. But what about the big place from somewhere else that comes in and wants to put one in Maverick and wants to advertise? You can't tell them they can't advertise. That's ridiculous.
Well, I understood, Spencer, your proposed revision would be to limit fine line tattooing to salons or beauty shop settings. That was
So
if I have a beautician come-
That's exactly why I did that.
So if I have a
I was
beautician come
finding a
work there for
compromise
2 hours a week,
for
is
that.
that, I mean, there you're gonna have all of this, I mean, I've watched it, I've been on too long to realize that there's ways to skirt around that. Okay, so it has to be a beauty shop, okay, I have a beautician that comes in and works Mondays from 10 to 2, and then, but I do tattooing in there all week long.
Yeah, I guess I don't share your concern that if we limited it to salon and beauty shops, that you would have people trying to skirt it in that way. Mayor, can I want to redirect my comments here. As I understood it, we are looking at really two issues tonight. And Lisa or Mike, you can tell me if I'm wrong. One issue, which we really haven't talked very much about, is that our city is at risk for not allowing any zone that will allow for tattooing. We have a 9th Circuit decision and an 11th Circuit decision, which I understand is not 10th Circuit. It's not binding precedent, but it's certainly concerning that somebody could sue our city for not allowing tattooing in any zone. So staff is proposing that we allow for body art facility, as you have defined here, which borrows from the Davis County standard, in high commercial and very high industrial commercial areas, not along Main Street, right?
That's correct.
So the city is proposing this so that we don't get sued, is the way that I understand it, right? So that's issue number one. And being somebody who doesn't like to be sued, because that just costs our citizens lots of our taxpayer dollars, I would be in favor of not getting sued and of making sure that we comply with the First Amendment. So as to whether we should be looking at some areas that allows body art facility, I am supportive of that, and I am supportive of the limited areas where staff has proposed that we do that. With regard to the proposal that the applicant has made in particular, I just really want to commend staff for the efforts that they have gone to create this distinction between body art facility and fine line tattooing and cosmetics. I feel like, I mean, there are a couple of concerns that I have with regard to the specific language, but I like the idea conceptually. I think that it is consistent, that the very limited nature of what is being proposed, I think, is very consistent. It's consistent with what we already have on Main Street. And so I like your proposals, both of your proposed changes, Spencer. So I would be supportive of that. I guess the one concern that I had, Lisa, is I'm not sure what traditional tattooing means, right? Like, to me, that feels a little vague. The traditional tattooing and similar body art is not considered a fine line tattoo and cosmetic application. I just don't know what that means. It feels vague.
Wouldn't you just
Yeah,
say
let's
that
just use-
anything that is not fine line would be then therefore a
Yeah,
traditional
well,
tattoo?
Because a traditional tattoo could be, I mean, it could be the little tiny, like,
Well, we should just
semicolon
use
on
the
your
term
wrist.
that we've
that
defined
would
and
be
say
a fine
body
line.
art, just say body art.
Yeah.
Because traditional, we don't have a definition for tattoo anymore, so
But I think I think you just raised the question. How fine line, no pun intended, pun intended, is the difference between fine line and body art?
Yeah, when
And-
to cross.
Right.
Yeah, when do
Say body
you
art.
cross the line? And Mike, you're saying that, and I agree that we have to allow it somewhere in the city, but this proposal has body art not allowed on Main Street, but it has fine line allowed on Main Street, right?
Correct.
But how do you define the difference? It's unclear, you know?
Yeah. And that's why there's two alternate definitions to look at it in two different ways. That's how it's been presented.
My concern on this.
Enforcement nightmare.
Yeah. My concern on this is this feels a little bit like spot zoning, only it's spot use. And I'm just not a proponent of that. I really don't have an issue with the nature of what Nicole wants to do, but I do have an issue with spot, like looking at just one use on Main Street. We should be looking at the whole of Main Street and what makes Main Street vibrant. We've had some people talk about keeping businesses in business on Main Street. Yeah, that is a huge consideration for me with our Main Street. And how does this affect future businesses? Maybe it doesn't, but at some point we turned people away for construction businesses because of that concern. And so I'm just not in support of it because of that.
Can I just ask you a question? In what way do you feel like it's spot zoning? Because in the
Because
definition.
we're looking at one use, we're not looking at all uses. We've turned people away.
So only insofar as this would now fall into the personal care services with a specific definition.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's within the commercial medium, high, and very high. So I don't follow you on whether this is spot zoning or not. Because in answer to some of the public's question, what does this open the door to? Well, it does open the door to any beauty salon in our city can now allow fine line tattoos. Absolutely can. So that's why I don't see it as a spot zoning issue. It's just a text amendment as it relates to professional services and defining
I'm
permanent
not
cosmetics.
comfortable with allowing a fine line tattoo when we haven't even got an area in our city that is appropriate for body art in general. Like, we're going to our very smallest commercial area and saying, yeah, let's try it there. And here's why I have a concern with it, and it has nothing to do with Nicole or New Trends. I totally respect both of them, but we have an example of, a food truck business, a commercial kitchen that we approved, and then it sort of went awry on smells. We can't always control. I am not comfortable with looking at this without looking at what do we want Main Street to look like in 20 to 30 years.
But
I agree, the cosmetic world has changed. I'm not saying it's not a thing. I just am saying we want a vibrant Main Street, and I am worried that by approving one use here and maybe one down the road, we're not really getting this vibrant, what's the word I'm looking for? Not vibrance, but synergy, velocity of, creation of economic development.
I agree with that. I think we've got to look at it as a whole. If we really want our Main Street
Yeah, I
to
think
be
it's more of a
successful,
whole.
we've got to look at the whole thing and
I
decide
agree,
what
by
we're
adding,
going to have.
by adding this in, yes, we do, but I do think there is some discrepancy on what constitutes a fine line tattoo versus maybe I guess what we were saying was traditional body art. I just think it needs more of a look than just looking at one particular item.
Mike, is there a difference, and this may be a better question for the applicant. We've defined fine line tattooing as with a smaller needle configuration. Is there equipment when you do permanent cosmetics? Is the needle itself different from what a regular tattoo would be? I see my applicant nodding.
You'd want to ask her, right?
Yeah, would you mind coming up and asking? I'm just wondering with regard to the equipment itself.
That's why I brought my show and tell, and I had given Lisa and Mike pictures of these things. So I think when Gina or Robin is saying, well, how are we going to define, or the mayor, how can we keep this just this? I'm not trained to do larger ones, and anyone that's going to want to work in a salon setting and do fine line tattoos is not going to be trained to do traditional tattooing. They need 2 to 3 to 4 years of this mentorship, and I guarantee people that are doing tattoos like he has, or that gentleman that stood up, do not want to work in a salon setting. So can I come up there and give these?
Yeah,
But specifically, I think definitionally is
Yeah,
where
no,
Shaylin may be going is, can
Yeah.
you define exactly the
So-
type of
so
needle that would
I
differentiate
appreciate
it
that you're showing me
between?
that. I just don't know what the difference is between
So the
a
needle,
different
so like
type.
one needle in,
All right, can you go back to the microphone?
oh, sorry. I'll open one of these up. So these, I don't have any other needles than what I use for my, my makeup. So it's one single needle in a casing. So traditional tattoo artists use up to 30 to 50 needles in a casing. So I use one.
I guess my question is, with regard to Gina's point about how do we not open the door here, One way that occurs to me that we could narrow this definition even more is instead of saying that it's only allowed to be applied with smaller needle configurations, we could say that it's only allowed to be applied with the same needle configurations that permanent cosmetics, which we've already allowed on Main Street, are to be applied. That would be a very narrow way.
Can I also just say, someone that's
what I
gonna
was getting
perform more of a traditional tattoo cannot use a machine like this. This machine has this tiny cord that hooks up to my power supply here. This power supply then hooks up to this that plugs into the wall. I cannot get the voltage out of this machine that I need to hammer in the color that a traditional artist would. So this machine would be used for eyebrows, eyeliner, and lips, and fine line tattoos. I don't even have the type of like instruments that are needed I don't even have those. A fine line tattoo artist wouldn't have those.
But to Shaylin's question, can you narrow it to say with a single needle
Yes,
configuration?
of course.
Okay, so then let me ask a question that maybe addresses other council members' concerns. There's a definition that says minimal shading. That could be ambiguous, right? What does minimal mean? Can you just eliminate any reference to
Do you
shading
have-
as it relates to
yeah,
fine line
do you have
tattoos?
that floral piece that I did from the first meeting? Okay, so I would consider that minimal shading on a fine line tattoo.
Right, and I think from a council perspective,
Sure.
where you're trying to enact an ordinance with specific language,
So again,
visuals aren't going to help from an enforcement and a,
so back to
Policy writing
Shaylin, you
perspective.
cannot shade large parts with these needles. It would take you days.
Right, nobody who actually
You
wanted
couldn't
something
sit
with
through that.
significant shading would do
So
it
I
with a
can
single needle.
tattoo on a whole eyebrow with one of these needles, but, I mean, I don't have the
so you're saying
equipment.
from a technical standpoint, you are forced to minimal shading based off of a
Right, I
single
don't have the, yes.
needle
But
configuration.
any fine line artist is, from a technical standpoint, A, isn't trained, but B, doesn't have the equipment.
Okay, thank you so much for
Yeah,
that
that's
clarification.
So,
And I guess,
while you're there, so the picture that's up, is that permanent?
Yes.
I guess I'm still, is it just the intensity and the colors and more tattoos? How's that different than the gentleman from Bountiful that stood up, that has permanent tattoos all over? It's permanent.
It is permanent, and so
Yeah.
are my eyebrows, so are probably half of the women's.
But you could put that on somebody's arm with this proposal, right, or their leg, or anywhere, right?
I could put it on their forehead if they wanted it. I mean, it's,
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, I guess, Gina, thank you so much, I appreciate that clarification. I guess when you say spot use, I feel like if we can narrow this definition in the way that I'm proposing, it feels like it would be spot use to say, we'll allow that type of service, we already allow that type of service to be performed on faces, and to say, but you cannot do the exact same thing, limited in the way that we're looking at structuring it on another part of the body. To me, that feels arbitrary, and it feels discriminatory, right? Like, I don't understand the distinction between saying, sure, we already allow it, we've allowed it for years, nobody has had a problem with this business doing permanent cosmetic tattooing on faces for years, but now
We've
we're
only
not
done it
going
for a
to
couple
limit
years.
it. But now we're not gonna allow it to extend using limiting it to the single needle, right? Where, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just have a hard time not being consistent.
I do hear what you're saying, but in my mind, I don't feel that way. I just feel like it is important that we look at the whole, and we're not doing that, and we continue to make these decisions that way, and I think it is, I mean, maybe this is just the engineer in me saying, I want to look at the whole. I don't want to just look at one little individual piece. I hear what you're saying about the inconsistency. I don't know if I totally agree with that, but I do want to look at the whole.
So how's it any different than Councilwoman Meekham's example with the construction? Isn't it spot use? You don't allow construction on Spain Street, spot use, you don't allow fine art tattoo. It's not any different.
But we've said that we won't allow that type of construction, right?
No, any construction.
That's my point. Any construction. Here we're saying.
But it's allowed somewhere in the city. I'm not going to get your point that it shouldn't be allowed somewhere in the city.
No, but we're saying we won't allow construction along Main Street, and that's fine, because we apply that
You
consistently,
can
but
have your
here-
office there, but you can't have your vehicle, and that's
Right.
kind of the same thing. She can do makeup, but she can't do the other, makeup's only been
Well, no.
done it for very long.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't wanna be contentious here, but I think that it's a distinction without a difference, because we're saying that it can be performed on your face, but it can't be performed on a hand. And I don't see the distinction there. I don't.
So I'll go back, Gina, I don't view this as a spot issue. I am viewing this as a whole, and I view this as if an ordinance were to pass tonight, that yes, any beauty shop or salon that opens up in any of the commercial medium, commercial high, or very high, or existing beauty salons could perform this. So I don't see that as a new trends specific location issue. So that's my first point. The second point that I've had written down and I think is important for the council to remember, as well as our community, is that on Main Street is housed our police headquarters. And our police have a tattoo policy that allows for large format tattoos, not just fine lines. So I think it would be hypocritical as a city to allow our public safety officers to have full sleeve tattoos on Main Street and yet not allow a fine line tattoo establishment.
That doesn't work.
I don't agree with
They
you at all
work
on
here.
that.
They work here. Somebody working at the bank has a tattoo.
Okay,
Come
but
on,
Mayor,
they work here.
No, what I'm,
They're not applying them, but putting them on here,
but the
Spencer.
distinction is, Mayor, why are we having this discussion, or why are we maybe rejecting a fine line tattoo is because of a stigma associated with it.
That's not why I'm not.
Then why would we not accept them on Main Street? You've said that someone won't come to Main Street.
Spencer, we haven't even had we don't even have like into our very high areas. That's my concern is we don't know what can of worms we're opening. Stigma or not, I would like to have the opportunity to say, yes, let's find a place in the city that is appropriate. But I don't want to go to our very smallest commercial district and experiment next to single family homes with what that entails. And I'm not talking about, I'll just set the record straight. I have fine line tattoos. My eyeliner is permanent cosmetics. I'm not opposed to it. I have zero problems with it. But I do have a problem with experimenting in our smallest commercial district when we don't know for sure. I think staff has done an excellent job of trying to define these, but I still want to look at the whole, and that has nothing to do with the actual use that is being requested tonight. It has everything to do with what do we want that Main Street to look like? And I do think we have to be considerate and careful because we do have single family homes there. And is this that big of a deal? Maybe not, but I want to look at the entire, like what this looks like for 20 to 30 years out from now, not just one thing that is important right now today.
And I agree with you, Gina, because the proposal I'm suggesting is, yes, this is our first foray into this.
Right.
So it's not full tattoos. It is a fine line tattoo, and based off my language, I'm even limiting it further as to where they can be located in. So I'm being very conscientious, I think.
I
in
agree
my
that
point
I do
if we're
agree
gonna-
with that.
If you're gonna step your toe into it, I think I've tried to find a compromise or a balance where you're not doing a full tattoo in your commercial medium. You're not doing it anywhere on your Main Street. It is a fine line tattoo in a specific type of use.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that distinction for sure. I really do. I just am still like, gosh, I feel like we have been struggling with a Main Street plan for years, and I really would like the opportunity to investigate that from a holistic perspective, you know, whether that's a small steady plan or whatever. And like I said, I don't know if I'm really ready to say, yes, let's just throw that in every district if it is in, you know, cosmetic or aesthetics type setting.
Councilman Plummer, you've been very polite not to interrupt you. I'm giving you a chance right now if you have some comments. We got him?
Did he fall asleep?
Hello, no, I'm here. Sorry, I was just trying to unmute. And I have been listening, and I appreciate everything that has been said. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. I actually have enjoyed the information from Nicole, and I've been very interested in hearing from our residents and the council and the mayor. I think everybody has really valid points, and I being somebody that really supports the First Amendment, this is something that does actually have some resonance, and I can hear that. But I also believe what Gina is saying is very important as we look at the history and the makeup of how Centerville has evolved from pioneer roots. And in this specific area, it would be best maybe to have a better, more holistic approach to this type of zoning. Now, before I go, and I actually really am interested in the fact that it was limited to salons. And that to me is something that's near and dear to my heart, in that I and my wife both own a salon. And we have had that for many years. She's operated both on the, she's operated in the old strip mall up down at the south end of town that was torn down, Clips on Main, and now we operate out of our home. My question to Lisa, and this is something that I've been feeling a little bit, is I may be uncomfortable making a vote on this, in that I feel like I may need to abstain based on the fact that I have a salon. Is that something that Lisa could give me some feedback on?
Yeah, typically we talk about this before the item. So, yeah, this text amendment would impact you if, I guess it's something that would be allowed in your business. Is that what you're saying?
Does his business
Do you have a
located in a
business here?
commercial medium?
Yeah,
high
it's
or very
in,
high?
it's in his home. So
It's a
So it
home,
wouldn't
it's a
be in
home
any of the
business?
zones that would affect.
Yeah, I don't think we would allow this as a home occupation.
Okay, and that's fair. But that being said, it would be very easy for me to move my salon to a commercial setting and establishment, and be part of this new wave of, I could rent a space, the Maverick, and put in 6 or 7 tables and have fine line tattoos going, within a couple of months, if the space was available. So I really feel that at this point, although I would actually say yes, that I would like to see this not pass. I don't know if I feel comfortable voting on it.
Well, if you believe you cannot be objective in this due to financial interests, then you can recuse yourself, but I don't see under the fact circumstances you've mentioned that you are required to. So it's up to you to determine whether you believe you can be objective in your decision-making. And if not,
Okay.
then you should recuse yourself.
All right. Well, based upon what you've said, you've allayed my worry, Lisa. Thank you. I will not recuse myself in this matter, and know that I have been. I believe in what Robin has said and what Gina has said, and I think that is the direction that I'm moving towards.
Is that it? We don't have a motion on the table yet. Any other comments, or is that it?
I mean, ultimately, I believe that we really do need to look at the current general plan, and we need to look at the language that's there, and we need to say that this is a spot use, type of issue. That we need to actually, it does fall under certain services, but how does that relate to the overall general plan of the neighborhood, of the historical district? And quite frankly, I just don't think it fits into that current written language that we have right now. So if we want to have something evolve or change in the future, we may need to look at how Main Street is zoned. But to try and force this issue right now just seems out of place.
Thanks, Councilman. Okay, are you ready for a motion? Or anything else to bring up?
Can I take one more stab at this? I don't think I'm going to convince anybody, but Robin, your example says that we don't allow construction along Main Street. That would be like us saying we don't allow artists' studios along Main Street. And if that was our zone, then that would be consistent. What we have is something comparable to us saying we will allow artists to make pencil drawings on paper along Main Street, right? That would be the equivalent of the we will allow tattooing on faces right now. And if somebody came and said, well, I also want to use my pencils to draw paintings on canvas, then we are saying, oh, I'm sorry, no, I won't allow you to draw. I won't extend. We already allow some type of this service, right? Pencil drawings on paper, but now we're not going to allow you to use the same pencils to put that on canvas because, and there is no because, right? It's comparable. We have allowed permanent cosmetics to be placed on faces. I see no distinction. Having opened that door, there was a council before me, right? The council made that decision and we've allowed it. And so I just think that it's inconsistent not to, if we define it in the manner that Spencer and I have proposed, limiting it to salons and beauty parlors and limiting it to the exact equipment that we're already authorizing to be used on Main Street, I just don't think that it's consistent for us to say no.
I just don't feel like where we've turned down other places, just like the construction place, I feel like, you know, if we look at all of Main Street and we redo a general plan for Main Street, and we decide this fits in with the other businesses we're putting on there, but it's not on there now, and it's not on there for a reason. And I think, like I said, if we could just give it to Nicole and New-Trends, it would be fine. But I feel like in some ways that's what we are trying to do, and I've gotten in trouble with that over the years and watched things that we have done. One of them was on Main Street where we had this great guy and he made all these promises and everything was great. But then it backfired on us down the road because we did open the door. So I just feel like until we can look at the whole thing, I can't vote for it when I didn't vote for construction. I just, it's not part of what was decided would work.
And I guess I just view it, I don't view it as a, Nicole, I view it as it's been presented by the applicant and staff. It is a text amendment that affects the whole. I don't see fine line tattoos and permanent cosmetics as anything that is damaging to our community. In fact, most of the public comment tonight was supportive of the change. If Nicole were to move out of the city tomorrow and somebody else took her place, the zoning code would still stand, and I view it as such. I don't view it as a Nicole issue. I view it as a ordinance request by an applicant that would affect definitely the areas noted in the report.
I think it's time for a motion. I'm not hearing really much added to what we've discussed, and it's been a good discussion, don't get me wrong, but so looking for something from somebody.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we, let me just make sure I get this all correct. And Lisa, try and follow along with me. And I welcome friendly amendments, as always. But I am going to make a recommendation that we approve ordinance number 2025-03 with the following changes. That the definition of permanent cosmetics be changed as follows. A cosmetic treatment which is performed in a salon or beauty shop setting involving the controlled insertion of pigment into the skin as a means of producing design that recreate lost natural body features or that resemble makeup, such as eyebrows and eyelining and other natural enhancing colors to the face, lips, and eyelids and the hairline. Permanent cosmetic is solely for replacing natural body features or enhancing those body features that were or are already present for those who have lost them as a consequence of old age, disease, chemotherapy, genetic disturbance, and to disguise scars and skin conditions. It may be referred to as semi-permanent because of occasional touch-ups are required. I would also adjust the definition of fine line tattoos and cosmetics as follows. A tattoo style characterized by a single needle configuration with very thin, delicate lines creating intricate designs, signifying a more detailed and minimalist approach compared to traditional large format tattoos. And then the last line is really related to body art, so help me with that one, Shaylin, if you care to make a friendly, you were pinpointing on that final sentence.
I would just remove it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just remove that last
It creates
sentence.
ambiguity in
I'm
the
sorry,
definition.
what are we removing? I didn't hear
The
you.
last sentence.
The reference to traditional tattoo.
Yeah,
Reference to
the
traditional tattooing.
reference.
Okay, this
And-
is under
That's
personal
that sentence
care?
right there.
The definition
Thank you.
of fine line tattoos and cosmetics.
Okay, thank you.
And then I would, on the table of uses, because that was not clear for staff, body art facilities would stay as not permitted in commercial medium and yet permitted in commercial high, very high, industrial medium, industrial high, industrial very high. And personal service, care service would remain unchanged.
Just to clarify, it would be conditional use or permitted use? We're
Sorry.
recommending
Oh, yeah, you said, conditional. Yes, thank you. Yes, that would be my motion.
So conditional use,
For body art facility.
okay.
It's not a permitted use as
Not
it's
on Main
outlined
Street.
by staff, not on Main Street, because that's commercial medium. Only commercial high, commercial very high, industrial medium, industrial high, industrial very high, as a conditional use.
Okay. Mike, can you just define for me where I'm not looking at the zoning map, the difference between commercial high and commercial very high? What?
And I'm following staff's recommendation. I'm not.
I know, I'm
super
just curious.
Can we
as
do a
to-
motion real quick and then a second? And then
Yes,
just-
sorry.
Okay,
If there is a second.
Gina may have proposed a friendly amendment, which doesn't have to be from Shaylin. It
Do
could
you
have been
need
from
to
Gina as
put
well, so.
reasons for the action?
And
You
then,
finished
When
your
you say
motion?
no
I have,
changes to personal services, you mean leave it as written in the staff report as defined?
Correct.
Okay.
And then, Lisa, do you want actions or findings?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. And I will base those reasons for actions and findings as presented as 1 through 5 in the staff report.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Further clarification or discussion?
Your,
Is it needed?
your change to the fine line tattooing definition removed reference to shading.
It
Yes?
did.
So you're limiting the definition to just
Needle
single
configurations.
line needle configurations.
So I'm even narrowing that. I've narrowed both definitions doubly.
Only in salons and beauty shops, only with a single needle, no shading.
Correct.
All right, no further clarification?
I just want to say really quickly, Spencer, I really appreciate what you're trying to do. It really is in good faith. I understand that. I think that it is it is a good thing that you're trying. But the feedback that I've received over the last few weeks has all been opposing this, and I just did not receive anything in the contrary. So again, I just wanted to thank you for your efforts. But I just, again, it's one of those things that you have to listen to the residents at some point.
Respectfully, Brian, when you say that you haven't heard anything to the contrary, I think that the overwhelming public opinion that we heard today was in favor of what we're proposing.
I heard exactly what was said today, Shayla, and I appreciate you saying that. I did hear that.
Okay.
But again, that's just a fraction of what I've heard. Thank you.
Was there any further discussion or clarification?
Can you differentiate for me the difference between commercial high and very high?
So there's three main districts that are commercial high. The corner of Pages Lane and Main Street where basically the DI and the Z Brothers, that is all commercial high, that whole area.
Okay.
With Ace Hardware on the corner, obviously excluding the housing.
Okay.
Then the area behind Young Power Sports where the storage unit facilities are, that's commercial high.
Okay.
And then Dick's Market is commercial high, that commercial center, down to the Smoot office building.
Okay.
Across the street, Grease Monkey and Twisted Sugar are high, and then the old Arby's gas station is high. The rest of the commercial district is commercial very high.
Okay, thank
Does that
you.
matter to your decision?
Maybe.
With regard to the.
I think that's a helpful clarification.
I just think it's helpful to understand that, frankly.
Because like I said, I'm not I mean,
I-
I was kind of following council, so if you felt like
I mean,
it was
I
better
think-
very high as opposed to high, I can back off that
I
one
think
as
you
well.
know where my vote is gonna fall on this one, but I'm hoping we can move forward with possibly, if this fails, a second motion that gets something going. So I guess that's why I was bringing it in.
And if that affects your vote, I'm happy to change it off of commercial high and seek for a second on that.
It probably doesn't change my vote on this.
All right, any further discussion?
I will make that change just because I want to make that change.
Okay.
'Cause I appreciate staff's distinction on that, so I would take it off as a conditional use in very high, high, and make it a not permitted use in high and only make it very high.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment.
Thanks, yeah, Lisa, did I hopefully get everything?
Yeah, you were great. I just made a mistake. It does say here that personal care services can be allowed as a home occupation. And the way we've defined the, well, actually, that's the, let me see, that's the permanent cosmetic. But I think fine line is also considered
But I
a
thought it had
personal
to
care
be in
service. So if you
That would
wanted,
fall under personal
if
care.
you
Has to
want
be
it
in
excluded
commercial, though.
from a home occupation, you can specifically say that.
But doesn't it have to be in commercial? Can't be, we're stating that it
Oh.
has to be in commercial.
Well,
And
these are
and it's
permitted
fine to get a
uses may be
commercial.
allowed as a home occupation in any residential zone or agricultural zone. So if you want them excluded, you need to specifically state that.
And I'm happy to exclude that if we need to do that. To me, it's a business, but
I'm sorry. I feel like I lost something in translation there.
So we do allow a number of uses as home, for people to do them in their home.
Right.
There's regulations and, sign restrictions and things like that. So what I'm saying is, in our current code, a permitted use of a home occupation is personal care service, which we have just defined as fine line tattoos
I
and was
see.
previously defined to include permanent cosmetic.
yeah. so
Do you want to amend?
Yeah, so we would amend it
your
to
motion
exclude that
Those types of
home
uses from-
occupation provision.
Right, because then we do have prohibited uses for home occupations, which only includes kennels and stables, but could now include these two.
I will accept that amendment
Thank
in
you.
my second.
All right, our definitions and discussion complete. Sounds like a Councilman Plummer, it's vote time.
Okay, I'm here.
What's your vote?
Nay.
Beacom,
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Motion fails 3-2. Anything else we need to do, Mike, on this for now, or could we move on?
You'll need
Or Lisa?
some kind of decision, right, Lisa?
Well, then I'm gonna move, because I don't want the city to get sued. I move that we allow for, body art facilities in,
I agree with that, but I think it's something we need to work.
Do we have to
I
do it
don't have
now?
enough
Or is
information.
that something?
Yeah,
to
this
vote
is
on
something that we need to not do now. I'm kind of tired of this whole gaslighting thing from the two council members.
Hey,
Shaylin and,
Councilman Plummer, stop.
no, it's ridiculous.
Stop, move it on, stop.
I had understood that that was a proposal that staff had made in connection with this request. Did I misunderstand that, Mike?
With what?
Haven't you guys proposed that we look at considering body art facility as part of this proposal?
Yeah.
Yes,
as a
in
protection.
the higher
For the
commercial
city.
In higher commercial zones?
But I'm
For the
fine if the
city.
council wants to table that port, well, actually, we could just have it be our own, because at this point, the applicant would not be involved.
Yeah,
But
that's what I'm
I do
saying. So
think we
it's-
can
it's
certainly
outside of
bring
this
you back,
application.
because it would.
I don't think there's a rush to have to do that, but I think
you.
you'd have to do it sooner than later.
But I don't
agree.
want to let this one slip through the cracks because, again, I mean, I want to be really sensitive to not having to spend taxpayer funds defending a lawsuit.
So Lisa's been taxed, bring that back to us as soon as she can at a future meeting, Lisa and Mike.
So the whole issue or just a portion of the issue?
Just the body art in the other commercial
In
zones.
zones, so it's not banned
So
from the
is there
city.
a motion that we?
I don't think we have to have a motion, do we?
We would just
I think we're
instruct
just
staff.
giving you
That's
instruction.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, I'd have to go back to
So
planning commission.
the motion to deny failed, you can either make another motion, the motion to approve failed, so you can make another motion to deny these text amendments, or we can just say it failed. Either way.
I guess maybe, just for, I know we've spent a lot of time on this, but as far as discussion and maybe helping staff to know what to do moving further forward.
Have legally defensible findings.
Well, what I was gonna say is, what does it take to get this approved? Like, where are we at? You know, not necessarily, I know this just failed, but what would the motion have looked like that I guess those of us that said nay could be amenable to? Do we know?
I'll say that I feel like we're trying to put something in an area that is a neighborhood that is connected to single-family homes, a historic district, and it's just not something that fits into what we have seen in the current general plan. That's not something that the people that wrote the general plan wanted. So I think that we just need to look somewhere else.
I think that's what we're discussing, Councilman Plummer. We're trying to give staff direction on bringing this back to where these uses are allowed within the city.
Well,
Is
Gina,
that correct?
yeah, to answer your question.
Yeah.
Spencer and I both favored a motion that would have put body art facility in all of the commercial, very high and
Right.
industrial high areas. So, at least I think, and I don't mean to speak for you, Spencer, but I think we
I'm
would
listening
both be.
You'd be
on the same
okay with
page
that? I guess I'm wondering is that, what is it, so if we were to look at body art facilities, you removed commercial high out of your motion. What does a conditional use permit look like that in those areas? I'm just trying to, I guess, be as open as possible, but, also provide a way forward, because I agree with you. I don't want to spend taxpayer dollars fighting a lawsuit that we can maybe get this addressed.
And I agree with that too, but I need more time. I need to work with staff and find out exactly where it would allow it. And kind of maybe look at some other towns and see where theirs are working. And so that's why.
I think that's a reasonable
I
request.
can vote
Okay.
tonight, but I am definitely for.
I don't think you
having it
need
in our
to.
city sooner than later. I don't have a problem with it, but tonight I feel like we're rushing it. I want to know what areas
And
that
I-
is going
I
to.
think-
And then those people should have a right to know that we're considering that and come and say, I mean, you know, maybe the DI comes and says, we don't want it next to us. So for us to rush through tonight,
That's a
I
good
think
point.
that's wrong. I think we need to. And I think it's interesting because when it said it could be in residential homes, everybody was like, no. But yet we were talking about putting it on Main Street, which would put it next to residential homes. And I think we need to remember that when we look at Main Street is, it is next to, I mean, it seemed unbelievable when she said, well, I'm thinking, well, so we could have people popping up all over town doing this? Neighbors aren't gonna be happy with that. But that's the same thing the
But I'm
neighborhood's
not,
got
so I wasn't
here.
so concerned about the use in the homes as I am parking, traffic, coming, going, where it's not designated as a commercial zone, not the use itself.
Lisa, I think your point is well taken. I mean, we'll need findings with regard to that, and I don't think it has to be done tonight.
But
I know
does-
that it was noticed.
Does the council need to have findings for?
Yes, I think you can
denial
either
tonight.
make a motion to deny
Yeah.
with with findings to support that and direct staff to come back with text amendments to allow body facilities in other areas, or you could table this and direct staff to do.
And the way I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but a tabling would bring it back to this body, but a denial would take a new step where we take it back to the planning commission and work through the process again. That's how I see it, with those two options.
Okay.
And we may
That's what
want
the
it to
two
go
do.
through the process if we're gonna open it up into other people's neighborhoods and businesses and see if that's what they want. Or at least give them the opportunity to say if they can.
All right, you good?
Whatever you'd like to do. Are you seeking action then?
Yes, I think, like I said, I think your options are a motion to deny or a motion to table.
Yeah. That's how I would see it too.
Do you want a motion to deny or a motion to table?
No, we wanna we've gotta have a motion to deny.
With findings.
With findings.
So make one, somebody.
Okay.
I'm looking, I'm trying to get it.
I'm not making it.
I'm a gaslighter.
I got it on the screen, Gina.
Oh.
After we get done with this, can we have a brief break
Yeah,
before we
we
start our
can.
next?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we deny the request. And are we looking at, is this the same one I'm looking at, February 18th? With the findings, one
It is on your
through,
computer screen too.
1 through 4?
Correct.
Is that sufficient for you, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess I'll add to that we ask staff to revisit body art facilities in other zones and that we discuss this at a later date.
Second.
Motion to second, further discussion? All right, let's vote. Councilman Meekum?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, say again, Plummer?
Aye.
Yeah, so you good? Okay, it's been a request to have a brief intermission.
If you'll, Jeff, hang on for a minute.